Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Tuesday and welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. I hope you're all well. It's very much evening here, and I know you guys are. I know ARKHEIM is like, I think 9 o'clock in the morning there. So just to let you know, us Africans have paved the way for you all. It's a beautiful day. No problems ahead for you. You're welcome. Nice to see everybody. Welcome to the chat and really happy to see you. Those of you who joined the show last night, I was very grateful to see you all. Caleb made his comeback again. And so please go and watch that show of the birthday. What did we call it? The surprise birthday guest. Yep. So go enjoy that. And also, now we have a membership channel. So please join the membership channel. We're going to be doing lots of amazing things as well as over at Patreon. All the details in the description. So look forward to having you on board for some very cool things in the near future. And without any further ado, here is ARKHEIM Ra. Hello, ARKHEIM.
Thank you for having me once again.
It's such a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. We had such a great conversation the last time you were here. And I thoroughly enjoyed the information you were putting out there. I know our viewers did too. So welcome and thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to talk about this stuff, and it helps me out a lot to be able to talk about it. So I appreciate you giving me the outlet, and yeah, people are going to learn a little bit about the manufacturing history through time travel and how colonizations of other planets actually works.
Gosh, I'm really looking forward to this because I said to you earlier on, I said, listen, I'm trying to do some research on these topics, and I came up with great big military vehicles with great big tracks on them and a few robots.
Yeah, if you look up Centurion, obviously, you're not gonna find any information on the planet. And Centurion has to do with basically, it's in the Roman army during classical antiquity. A centurion was basically a commander of a century, which is a military unit consisting of 100 legions. The size of the century changed over time, but basically it was somebody who was promoted from an exemplary soldier and expected to become a strict commander of their subordinates and to lead their troops by example. So basically, the name Centurion is a designation given to a planet it's like a designation. It's not just a name, and it has to do with the fact that it's a military-controlled planet. It's a military outpost. It solely exists because of the military. There are civilians that live there, but it's a military outpost.
So when you say it's a military outpost, what exactly goes on there? Is it more sort of AI, like big robot things like I saw when I was trying to find something on it? Or is it maybe where they do training of super soldiers? I don't know. What happens there?
Okay, so Centurion 5 is a planet that was basically a class 9 planet it's a type of planet that due to time-space distortions and where it's located in space, it can actually appear and reappear in our reality. So this is one thing that I've talked about this a lot. Like I've talked about how it had like a weird cloaking or something like that, or there's something where people couldn't find it. I'm now like getting the memories back that it actually was because it would literally appear and it would like shift into one reality and then back into another reality. And so because of that, it was literally completely hidden and it wasn't on any galactic maps. And so when it was discovered by the Joint Navy Space Fleet, which is basically like the UN, like NATO, but in space, is a military organization. There was a battle in the future between some sort of, the memory's fuzzy. I don't know who it was. But basically there was a battle in this region of space where we lost and it was bad and just lost a lot of people, a lot of resources. And it was a cascading effect where after that loss, it just kept on coming. And so We found Aurelia. It's actually called Aurelia. There was a species living on it. They look like Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. It's a trap. That guy. It's a trap. If you've ever watched Star Wars, they look just like that
Yeah.
guy. That yeah, the Aurelians look like that. And basically, we went back in time to when they were primitive, and they couldn't defend themselves. And we took over their planet slowly, uh, basically just encroaching upon their space. And
Who is we? When you say we took over their planet and slowly, like I can imagine the frog in the hot water type of syndrome, right? But who is we?
Joint Navy Space Fleet. So Joint Navy
Right.
Space Fleet is basically like just think of like the United States and all of its allies. That it like if we fight in wars and stuff like that, we fight alongside them. That's Joint Navy Space Fleet. Like it's all of us.
Okay.
Like it's like all of the American United States aligned space militaries. You know, Italy's in
Right.
there, Germany's in there, um, uh, some other ones. I think Poland might be one of them. But yeah, there. So in France. And on Centurion, there's a German colony. There's an American. It's like cities. They're just cities, but there's an American city. There's a German city. There's a Italian city, and yeah, there was one city for a while that was there. I think it was the Italians and the French were sharing a city for a while, but then eventually the French got their own city because there was less French people there. But then eventually they did get their own city, and yeah, it's they tell people that Earth blew up, which is usually what they tell everybody on any breakaway planet because we probably would want to go back if we knew it still existed. And people would try to go back, no matter what, probably. But basically,
Wow.
they'd be yeah. You're told Earth doesn't exist and that we colonized this planet, and it's our new home, and it's a military outpost and stuff like that. And um, they're told they're told more of the truth about space on Centurion. Like they know that there's life and aliens and stuff like that in space, but it's still all a lie. It's all controlled. It's all manufactured. You're never gonna find anything on their planet in their media that makes the Joint Navy Space Fleet look bad. They control the entire planet, like everything. The digital currency. It's digital currency. There's no paper money. Every transaction is recorded. High surveillance cameras everywhere. But how this all happened is like how I even got the memory back of colonizing Centurion 5, which is Aurelia. Um, was I woke up in this body in this life. I woke up on a spaceship, and I was drugged and looking around me, there are all these people around me, and they're also you can tell they're drugged because they're like lying on the floor or they're like slouched over and like drooling on themselves basically. And so I I knew that I was gonna forget. I knew that I was drugged, that I was already like I just knew I was gonna forget. So what I did is I ripped my necklace off. I like this necklace and never take it off. So I ripped it off, and the next day they put it back together and put it around my neck. I woke up with it around my neck, but when I examined it the next day after I actually woke up and like it was broken. I ripped it off and they put it back together. You could tell. Like the metal, there was a metal piece that like had gotten bent and broken and they just like shoddily put it back together. Like which you think
Was
with
there
all the
anything was there anything significant about your necklace that you
this
wanted
is
to
a
hold it or that they broke it?
this necklace I always wear it. I never take it off and I gifted it to my grandma in Italy on a time travel mission. So this is actually from the Project Phoenix. Project
Right.
Phoenix. And this is a medallion that belongs to me. And basically, it's this can help me go back to the reality I come from. I think once I have the opportunity to do that, because it's from there. I think or it's a grounding point. Maybe it's not the reality that I come from, but basically a portal can scan this and tell what reality it's from. Like, okay, that's where you
Right.
want to. Because portals are alive. They're sentient, by the way. Some of them, gateways. But yeah. So this is a phoenix coming out of a portal, and so yeah, I actually gifted this to my grandma on a time travel mission in Italy. Uh, my the grandma in this life, who probably isn't even my biological grandma, because I was inserted into this life through surrogacy. But she was visiting Italy with her sister, and I sent a bottle of wine to her table and made this whole excuse of, oh, I'm American too. Fancy seeing you in Italy. And I gifted her the necklace, knowing that the version of me. See, on the other side, I was aware of this life getting set up and being manufactured. The memory isn't clear, but I was aware of it because I know that I set up for myself to get this necklace. I knew that this version of me would end up with this necklace and that I needed to end up with this necklace.
Right.
So
Right.
this has been the biggest confirmation of me to the fact that I'm in the programs, and that's why I never take it off. Is because it reminds me that I'm not crazy. It reminds me that this is real. This really happened. No one's ever seen my grandma wear this necklace. We found it in her stuff after she passed away, and I think she just was like, I don't, I think it's because she just was gifted by this weird time traveler guy. She didn't know I was a time traveler, but or maybe she did. The memory isn't clear. I don't think she did though. I remember it being like more of like Americans visiting Italy, and they thought we were just tourists too. But yeah, that's the significance behind the necklace. And but like ripping it off, it grounded me in that moment because obviously like I did wake up and think, was I just on a spaceship? But then I felt my necklace was there. It's like, oh, I guess it was a dream. But then the next day when I woke up and I actually like took a shower and stuff and took off my necklace and everything for that, um, I noticed that the chain link had been broken and it was a real memory. Which, believe me, I was still warming up to the stuff though. I knew what happened. I was remembering Montauk, but that was just like I had never ever had that yet, where I had physically did something out there in the programs, and then it registered here in this. Like it was the first time that ever happened, and yeah, basically, I was able to follow that rabbit hole of that small memory, and if it wasn't for that, I might not have remembered any of this. And basically, it's crazy. It's crazy. They took me at least 20 times. I'm not kidding. For 20 entire lifetimes, whole lives. Okay, and when we first got there, I knew they let me remember, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I was my alter Ryan Sterling. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I knew that we were colonizing a planet. And basically, it started with like we landed a ship, we put tents on the surface. We stayed in tents at first. Then we started building cabins. We got running water, plumbing. I literally watched a plot of land with some cabins on it turn into a thriving megatropolis with millions of people living in it. Probably, maybe even billions with a B. I don't know. It's at least millions though, and it was huge. It makes like I've never been to Asia. I hear that cities in Asia like make American cities look small, but I've never seen a city like I said, I've never left the United States really. So, but the cities that I've seen here in the United States are like small towns compared to how fucking big and compact and just like shoved in just like everybody was. And yeah, I watched it go from, like I said, like multiple lifetimes of living there, and I watched it go from not even having running water to having giant skyscrapers and just it was craziness. And yeah, I like I said, they allowed me to remember stuff for the first lives that I lived there because I needed to know what was going on. But I lived entire lives there where I didn't know who I was or why I was there. One of the alters was his name was Marshall Howard, and he was just like a normal construction worker, or he did mining, but he was just a worker. And basically, it's just they work you to death. They hardly pay you. They use food as a tool to control people. You think of, the World Economic Forum. Like
Yeah.
they were totally in control of this planet. Like everything you hear about, like the
Wow.
World Economic Forum wanting to do on Earth, it was implemented on this planet.
Wow.
Nobody really owned anything. Everybody rented everything. Everything was heavily monitored. Everything was heavily controlled. The information was controlled, policed. Like I said, digital currency. So like every transaction recorded, and it was heavily districted. So those 15-minute cities, like you needed a special. Basically, everyone was supposed to stay in their district, not allowed to leave. And here's another thing. Yeah, food is turned into. They did the crickets wanting to feed people bugs. So everybody was supplied with this like powder that you got in the mail, or I don't even know how it was, but I remember it was delivered right to your door. And you mix it with water, and it makes like this powder, and you eat it, and you could eat that for every meal. And that was their claim to fame. There was really cricket shell like powder. It's like flour, like there's crickets in it and stuff. It's like the cheapest food you could possibly make. And they show it in Star Wars when Rey mixes like this powder in this drink and it fluffs up. That's real. That exists in the Breakaway, and that's what you would eat. And due to that, they're like, oh, we supply everybody with food, so nobody starves here. Pat us on the back. We're great. We are the greatest government ever. But nobody starves on Centurion. But the reality is, you will literally kill someone for a fucking sandwich if you've eaten this powder shit for enough time. It's not real food. Human beings need real food. It might have the nutrients and all that in it on paper, but food has energy in it, you guys. Okay, there are planets in the Breakaway, places in the Breakaway, where in order to cook food for people, you need to pass a aura test every day or monthly or yearly. And there's tiers. So like there's green tier, yellow tier, red tier. Green tier means they're scanned every single day. Their aura is scanned every single day. The restaurant owns one of these scanners. They're scanned. They haven't been drinking. They haven't been smoking cigarettes. Their energy's clean. They're not going to put any negative energy. They literally have to be like fucking monks to be a cook, to be a chef on some Breakaway planets. You have to be like a monk because people know that you're putting your energy into people's food. So like, and then so it depends. Like there and the like food that is prepared by somebody who doesn't have one of these things. And I think this came later on Centurion, like way later in the future. We did have this on Centurion eventually, but it was like far off and way into the future of Centurion. But basically, yeah, like that, like how expensive the food is and how clean it is considered by how often these guys are tested. Yeah, it's kind of like a whey or a protein shake, but it fluffed up into like a bread when you mixed it. And yeah,
Would you say, because the more we listen to the horrors that have been going on, the more we understand that. I mean, like speaking to Jessie Czebotar over the years, one of the things that she's spoken about as part of the cannibalism is that they literally put the crushed up remains of the children in our food.
yeah.
And so it would be in like the more organic, natural, sort of grainy type foods. So
I mean,
that's
they've tested meat, and they've shown that there's been human meat in it over and over again, over and over again.
right.
And even they've did it. There's these vegan hot dogs that they had where they tested it here in the United States. They had human meat in them. They were supposed to be vegan. They're like, soy hot dogs. They had human meat in them. So they very much so do that because you have to understand, eating people makes you deranged. It makes you crazy.
Right.
It makes you psychotic. These people are fucking psychotic. They know that it changes our brain chemistry. They know that it changes us and who we are. It makes us more violent and unpredictable and stuff. They want that. They want us to be more like them. So that's why they put fucking human flesh in the food supply. That is 100% real.
No, I totally believe that. I mean, that is absolutely, and it's also, and then it's cursed. apparently our food is cursed like that as well, and then we wonder
Yeah. They
why.
curse food like for instance like Voodoo Donuts here in fucking Portland, Oregon. That place, those people that own that, they're like alchemists, like sorcerers, and they're doing really weird stuff with the donuts, like putting spells in them and stuff to make things happen. And they have a portal underneath the restaurant, which is next the donut shop, which is next to the Kit Kat Club. And the Kit Kat Club, it's a strip club that has a portal underneath it, and it's connected to the Kit Kat Club in Berlin. And I ran into, get this, Till Lindemann from Rammstein. I ran into him, who I know from the Breakaways. We know each other from the programs. He's in the programs. I ran into Till Lindemann at the Kit Kat Club on New Year's Eve last year, not this year, last year, and he was playing a concert in Mexico. So
Wow.
like he shouldn't have been there, but it was him. It was Till Lindemann of Rammstein. I know that's kind of off the subject, but it kind of led there. Just an interesting thing that happened to me, and I had people with me. My friends were there. Like we ran into Till Lindemann, and he like started talking to my friend, like asking him questions. Like he acted really weird, and my friend could tell he was German, and he was trying to hide the fact that he was German, so he purposely mispronounced Hamburg because he knows how much they hate that. And he got him. He's like, it's Hamburg, Hamburg. Like he got Till to like be like, okay. It was
Wow.
a really weird night. It was a really weird night. We ran into him, but like, yeah, there's back to the food. Like, there's a reason why they don't want us to grow our own food and stuff. Like, there's this article I saw recently that literally is the stupidest shit ever. It's like, um, growing your own food is bad for the environment. Have you seen that article? It's a real article floating around. That's like, yeah,
You
if
have
you,
got to be kidding me.
yeah, it's like it because it takes carbon to move it and build the shed and da 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 da. I'm like, okay, sure, let's use the garbage fake mind control metrics just to entertain ourselves for a minute. Okay, well, what if that shed stands there for hundreds of years and you pass it on to your children and your grandchildren and everything else? Then that's definitely gonna, the carbon thing is stupid. We all know that, but just hypothetically using their own stupid metrics, like
Right.
eventually it would offset because you'd be growing like that is the like being one with the earth is bad with the environment. That's the point of fucking mental gymnastics we've gotten to with these people. Like, you have to
Yeah.
be an idiot to believe this stuff. Like, sorry,
Wow.
I don't mean to get too far off track, but it is on track because it's like you're talking about the food and how
No, it is. It
it's a
is.
big way they use to control us. And one thing I can tell you though, which is nice, it's the good news. You can bless your food. In fact, there's a reason why in
Yes.
many cultures you have to pray before you eat. You're asking God to bless the food. The food's already blessed, maybe because you're grateful for it, but you can go an extra step and literally bless the food. And it's been shown how like you can say like I love you to water, and it changes, all that stuff. Do that
Oh,
to your
yeah.
food. Yeah, in fact, I'm preaching to the choir here, but like I should do that more. I forget when I eat a lot of times that I should bless the food before I eat it. I guarantee you that like I mean, it's unfortunate we just live in a world where it's very hard to control what you're eating and the fact that it's clean. So that's kind of a nice thing that people can do. And you don't have to be a shaman or whatever. All you have to do is believe it. Believe that it's working. Believe that you're doing it, and it does help. In fact, I would guess that if scientists were to study it somehow, if they could, you could literally probably prove that it changes the molecular structure of the food. But I
I'm pretty
digress.
sure it does.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, there's no doubt in my mind. Everything responds to love. I mean, as you were talking about the water experiments that were done. I mean, I remember seeing one of those little water crystals where they said, "I'll kill you," to
Mm-hmm.
the water, and when they took the photograph of the crystal, you could literally see a little guy with a gun that looked like a gun. So it absolutely takes on the imprint of the thought, for
Yes,
sure.
human psyche. Carl Jung talks about how human psyche is the root of all suffering and all problems on Earth, and it is the root of all evil on Earth, and it's true. Um,
Absolutely.
I spoke to this blue being. Um, the blue people, I guess they're like an ET race that exists in a higher frequency. Yeah, Dr. Emoto. But she told me I had this. She was something Shiva, which I think is like a last name. It's not the male Shiva. It was a female Shiva. But anyway, she told me that our thoughts are like weapons, like daggers, like. She said that every single bomb that's been dropped, every single battle that's been fought, it came from fear. She explained to me that there's only two different vibrations. There's fear and love. That's it. Everything else is just in between those two things.
Exactly.
And she basically explained that, like, yeah, like every bullet fire, every bomb dropped, it started with fear, it started with a thought, and it starts with the human psyche. So this is something that humanity needs to kind of keep in mind more, is our minds are the breeding ground for all war, for all suffering, the way we look at the
Exactly.
world. And it's very hard because we're being subjected to brutal a brutal, endless onslaught of mind control by a satanic cult that has weaponized itself, on every corner of the globe.
This is what I wanted to ask you, though. And I understand that, the human psyche, the human mind, are our thoughts really our own? Many times, especially when we're looking at schizophrenia, stuff like that, we will think that the thoughts are own, but it turns out that they're not really your own. So it's up to us to get ourselves into that absolute positive alignment state where you actually do hear thoughts or the inspirations, if you will of the divine, which then become your thoughts, right? So it's really what you're tapping into that becomes your thoughts. So my question around this is if we're looking at the human being that has created this bullshit, right? And I'm putting it in layman's terms. So, but I understand that they can only use and control you to the point that you are willing and open and accessible, right? You have that will, but yet they impose their will upon many innocent, and I say innocent because it's like I see many human beings as actually being quite innocent. It's like a little plant growing out of the ground, and then you have the big tree coming crushing over it. That's what I'm saying. So is it really human beings that have become that evil, or is it those that have controlled the human psyche for such a long time that have used humans to do these evil tasks? But we would not be able to be doing evil unless it wasn't already existing within us. I totally get that. So I'd just like your take on that.
I personally believe that all the problems that humanity has when it comes to not being able to be peaceful and being violent and being basically like the satanic cult, they're emulating the lizards. They're emulating the dragons, the Draco, that they worship. They want to be like them. And that their might is right. Like, they have a ritual in their culture where, like, they kill the weakest child in the family every year. And that's a celebration. Like, that's great. They love it. Like, that's a celebration to them. Like, their culture is so different than ours. And there's something to be said maybe about respecting, like, don't be xenophobic. Like, even though their culture seems really messed up to us, like, respect it. But the unfortunate truth is, due to our elite interacting with these psychotic lizards, they emulate them, because the lizards, they eat people. You know what I mean? They eat people alive. Adrenochrome, they're addicted to it. They love adrenochrome. They're emulating the lizards. That's all they're doing, is they're just trying to be like the lizards. And some of them literally are the lizards, and they're shapeshifters and stuff. So that's important to keep in mind. And one thing I want to bring up before I forget it, next time you have me on here, you should see if you could have Jessie and I on a show together, because I bet you that'd be really cool.
Jessie the Botar. That
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, we might even know each other. We probably know each other, considering she was close to Elon and stuff.
Yeah, she was. Just to answer that question, I think what you're saying is, what does fear break down to? I say fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. And I've proved it to myself over and over and over and over again. If you have the faith within you, you walk towards your fears, and those fears dissolve. I'll tell you that much. It's crazy how that happens. Anyway, it's a journey and a process to get there. But it's interesting what you're saying about emulating the reptilians, because don't we have a little bit of reptile in us anyway, within our own human DNA?
Yeah,
Isn't
we're well. They say that in the womb, like we kind of go through all the like mammal, lizard, or whatever. Don't they say that we go through all the different things? And yeah, we've got all sorts of we're a hodgepodge of different ETs and things like that. I mean, like that's another thing too. Is like there used to be ET all over the earth and stuff like that. And they would breed with us sometimes. So some people are like literally part ET and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. And I don't know. Sorry, I just got a brain fart. Got lost in thought.
no, all good, all good, all good. Um, uh, 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 so I want to just reverse a little bit. Sorry, and I interrupted you earlier on when you were talking about when you guys from the Joint Navy Space Fleet, right, were colonizing these breakaway planets. Okay,
Yeah,
so
specifically Centurion. That's the one. Like I know I've been a part of the colonization of Mars, and all sorts of other places. But Centurion 5 is just because of the necklace thing. Honestly, that's why. It's because the physical grounding of that one moment that was supposed to never be remembered by me, and now, right, the here and now, that is what brought it all in. And to explain it, like how it all happened, like I said, I lived multiple lifetimes. I watched it grow. In some of these lives, I actually knew I was a time soldier doing this stuff, and I knew what was going on. And here's another thing too: is there's the ship outside of what's going on in a time bubble, monitoring everything. And so the ship would like literally have to keep in mind, like they like I lived an entire life on the surface. I had kids and stuff like that. My son died, and they couldn't even no help. He died in a river accident. Like they couldn't come down and save him or anything. Like that's how. So like, but anyway, like they come down on I'm an old man. Okay, for me, 100 years has passed or whatever. And they're like, all right. For them, it's been 5 minutes. Like, and they're like, how have things been? Good. Look at what we built. All right, we're gonna regen you, give you a new body and stuff like that. You're gonna do this all over again, a few times. We got to build this up more. We're bringing in more colonists. We got a few more ships coming in. We got more. We got enough infrastructure where we can do that now. Thank you. You know what I mean? And I literally watched it, like I said, building a whole city. And you might ask, well, how did it happen? Well, first, we started in the territory near where the Aurelians lived because it was cleared out kind of already. And they lived in swampy regions. This is a very tropical planet with lush giant forests full of fucking dinosaurs and stuff. Like literal T-Rex, pterodactyls, and they will eat you. They will eat you. You are food to them. So, the first thing that we did once we established the colony, and it was like we had like colonists, and we wanted to take it to the next step, build skyscrapers, all that crap. They put us into human bodies that are oversized, so like Hulk bodies that are like the size of like I don't know, like a 2-story tall building maybe.
what do you mean they put you in human bodies, oversized human bodies? How do they explain how they put you in there?
They just made. I don't know how they do it. I don't know the science, but they have these giant human bodies that are just like my body now, except imagine this body, but like 100 times bigger. Or I don't know what it
That big?
was.
Wow.
Yeah, and look into the Hulk programs, and that's something that they do with the Hulk programs. But basically, when we had body suits, and we had these laser guns, and we just chopped down the whole forest with these laser guns, and just like started it on fire, burned it all, clear cut it, and literally we had to fight dinosaurs and stuff with these nothing could come at us. We had laser guns. It literally just cut through everything. And yeah, we just leveled the whole entire region and just built the first megatropolis city on Centurion. And that just repeat. I mean, and I remember for all the other cities, it's the same thing. And I remember that I was part of building the roads. And I remember this is the crazy thing because this is one of the memories I got. Marshall was getting memories of Earth and me in my life, right? Like I get memories got memories of his life. He was getting memories of Earth. And I remember he was working in a construction crew on a road, and he was telling the guys about Earth. He's like, they're lying to you. It's still out there. Like, I know it. Like, they're not telling us the truth. Like, they're using us as pawns to build everything here and colonize this planet. I was like, you see that stop sign? The reds, like the hexagons, like they look exactly the same on Earth. I'm like, there are planets all throughout the breakaways. The stop signs all look the same. They got yellow school buses. Every single planet, the school buses are fucking yellow. They got the little sign that pops out. I'm like, everything's the same. The signs, the street signs, they
What
look the same. Like,
what's the significance of the yellow school bus? Because there's got to be something. I mean, if it's all already on these breakaway planets or colonies,
it probably has
what,
something to do with programming. It probably
I was going to
does.
say
Because
that
I
whole
know that they literally will take kids in school buses to programs and others to show the magic school bus, which is supposedly kind of loosely based in reality and made to so when your kids are like, oh, I went to space and blah 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 blah, when they come home they're like, oh, you're watching the magic school bus on PBS and you have a vivid imagination, like, you know, denial of plausibility. They do this stuff all the time. So, which by the way,
yeah
that's a big reason people are always like, they're putting it in our media to program us. Sort of, yeah, that's probably part of it. But plausible deniability is when you put something out there so you can deny it. Like you know what I mean?
yes
Like, it's like
yeah
when
it's exactly
I talk about Anga, this planet I was on, Anga. It's literally Dune. It's the same thing. It wasn't called Arrakis. It was called Anga. But I am convinced that Dune is literally just based on Anga. Period. Point blank. Period. Like, it's the same thing. They had the sandworms and everything, and it's like, okay, and you talk about that. You just saw Dune, or like anything. Like, you watch too much Star Trek. Like, they have this deniable plausibility
yes
where they're just like, you're just watching too many science fiction movies.
exactly. That's exactly what Jessie was saying as well. Is like part of their programming in the system, and they would let's say have whatever going on, and then they would be reading the same fairy tale at school or the same book at school in
Mm-hmm.
class. So if any of the kids went home and said this happened, and the mother would go, what do you mean? And they'd go, no, it was just her reading the book, she must have a vivid imagination. So I mean, talk about gaslighting. I mean, there's no worse type of gaslighting
They
that's
must have
imagined.
not done a terribly great job, because I mean, when I was a kid, I I don't remember everything that happened, but when I told my mom about me being in the programs, and she was the first person I told, and it was more of like, Mom, am I crazy? Right? Like I literally went for a walk with her. I'm like, Mom, we need to go for a walk. This is serious. Like, we need to have a serious conversation. It's like, you remember how I was like abducted by aliens when I was a kid? Da 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 da. She's like, yeah, I always believed you. I never tried to tell you that you're wrong. Like, and I was just like, I told her I was like, the military. I was like, think about it. I was like, the talented and gifted program. Remember that? I was like, they turned me into a weapon. They turned me into a piece of military equipment. I was like, time travel, cloning, and instead of my mom being like, um, like, you're crazy, she's like, it actually explains a lot. She said something about how one day I came home, or one day I just was quiet, wasn't the same kid anymore. Like, I just didn't talk, rock back and forth all the time. It just I could just sit in one spot for hours, all by myself. And she said it was like a switch flipped. And she just told me, like, yeah, like, I believe something happened to you. She believes me. So, like, they're not covering it up as well as maybe they could be, because otherwise my mom would have told me I was crazy. There must have been. There's probably. I can only imagine there's stuff that my mom remembers that she doesn't tell me because she doesn't want me to freak out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure I altered out and told her all sorts of wild stuff when I was a kid. Like, my alters would come forward and tell her crazy shit, and I don't remember any of it, but she does. Like, stuff like that. So that's how I just feel like my mom has seen things that made her believe me, that she's afraid of even telling me. I don't know. And I guess
Yeah.
what I'm getting at is they're not covering it up anymore. They're not. People are waking up to it. Talented and Gifted is trending on TikTok. Like,
Yeah.
all sorts of people are talking about it, realizing something weird's going on. So, yeah,
Right.
I feel like they can't. We're very fortunate to live in a time where the resources are there, where when parents are looking into this stuff, I think it's easier now. For my mom at the time, she did not know what to do. I remember the conversation she had with me. She was like, when I grew up, I went to school with a girl who got abducted by aliens, like you, okay? And she's like, she got made fun of. Like, it was, she became a pariah. And they tried to put her in like a mental institution. And she's like, you just don't tell anybody about this stuff. Just keep it to yourself. I don't want them to take you away from me. And that was like her that was while it was happening to me. Like, while this stuff was happening to me. And
Wow.
yeah, that kept me safe. And they were trying to pull me out into they're trying to put me into a mental institution, basically for breaking my mind. Like, they were trying to punish me for breaking me, because they did break me. And like they're like saying, like, like you're a kid, like you joke around, you say stupid stuff, right? And I remember like some kid was like, my birth name's Jeffrey, the name that I was given when I was born. ARKHEIM RA is my like eternal name, my title. Um, but anyway, they're like, some joke about Jeffrey the Giraffe, Toys R Us, Jeffrey the Giraffe. I was like, oh, I'm Jeffrey the Giraffe, and just made a joke like, I'm Jeffrey the Giraffe. And then I get pulled aside. They're like, do you really think you're Jeffrey the Giraffe? Are you crazy? It's like, I'm a little kid making a joke. And they were trying to get me to admit to being abducted by aliens and trying to get me to talk about it. And I wouldn't. And I'm sure if I would have, they would have probably tried to put me on drugs and, put me in a straitjacket and all that crap. But my mom, bless her heart, was like, lie to these people. You can't trust them. They'll try to take you away. They'll try to put you in a mental institution. And also, she saw what my dad went through. My dad had schizophrenia, and you know, unfortunately, had a really bad problem with like speed, like various kinds, just whatever he could get his hands on. So there was psychotic delusion there, but that's that deniable plausibility coming into play. Like, my dad was in the programs, he was having crazy stuff happening to him, he was getting memories back, and they do that to many people. Like you'll see it a lot of the times. Like, these people who are in the street yelling, they seem totally mentally unstable, totally gone. People walk right past them and try to not even look at them because they're afraid of them. A lot of these people are in the programs. Like, homeless people make the perfect assets because people walk right past them every day. They don't care about them. They don't pay them any attention. If they disappear, nobody cares. Like, they're so targeted. And mental health and drug addiction, like, a lot of these people are doing it because they have trauma from the programs. Like, they might not even remember the trauma consciously, but that's why they're drinking, or that's why they're shooting up or whatever. It's because they're dealing with the trauma. And so that's one thing I want people to really keep in mind when you see like mentally ill people on the streets, people who are homeless and on drugs and stuff like that, is a lot of times they're just processing their trauma in the only way they know how. And there isn't any help for them. There isn't any help for the people who are in these programs. There's nowhere, like,
Right.
we are the help. And we're kind of hard to find because we're on
Right.
an obscure corner of the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Absolutely. I fully agree that we are the help. It's interesting what you were saying about the homeless that make the perfect assets, right?
mm-hmm.
Because you kind of walk past them. How many people actually give homeless people a thought, a second thought, right? Here in South Africa,
And if you
they do it.
sit there and listen to them talking, they're talking to fucking people. Like, they're talking like voice to skull. Like, they're having real conversations. And not only that, they know about me. Okay, there are homeless people who know they're in the programs. They know, they remember. And they remember me. Like, because I'm commanding them and shit. Like, I see it, dude. Like, in the streets, like, there's a certain guy, I haven't seen him in a long time because it's gotten cold, but he used to drink beers at the park. This guy fucking knows who I am. Like, he knows who I am. and he's in the programs. And the reason why it's like a homeless guy wandering around drinking beers all the time is because he's in the programs, and his whole world is fucking turned upside down. So he just keeps to himself and just drinks to calm himself down and calm his nerves. But when he sees me, he knows who I am. And like they'll even do weird stuff like send them after me, like send homeless people after me and stuff. There was a homeless guy who was gonna stab me. He was trying to stab me for like a week and a half. I would go to the park, and he would hang out, and I knew he was gonna try to stab me because I had like a voice in my head, be like, "There's like, here's the park. It's a pavilion, and there's like a path, and there's like a guardrail, and like a brick. And a lot of times people will sit on this brick thing. It's not weird for someone to sit there, but this guy was sitting there with a mask on, outside, covered up, not doing anything, not reading a book, just sitting there like menacingly staring. And I got this voice in my head like, hey, like, go around him. He's going to try to stab you. So I did that. And then I ran into him later. And I told my partner, because we were sitting there and he was on the corner. I'm like, that's the guy that wants to, well, I didn't say it at the time. But as we left, I was like, that's the guy who wants to stab me. He's sitting on a screwdriver. He's going to try to stab me with the screwdriver. And so sure enough, later on that day, we see the guy walking with the fucking, he's just walking around with a screwdriver. Like, this guy was gonna fucking stab me. He wanted to fucking stab me. And I just basically, the time I saw him after that, I don't let these people fuck with my life. I was on my bike. I fucking cruised right up to him. Boom! Hopped off my bike. Pulled up my phone. Like, this is a beautiful bike right here. My beautiful bike. And I was filming him, but I was acting like it was the bike. And I was just showing him, motherfucker, I know who you are. I know what you're trying to fucking do. Don't even try, motherfucker. Like, and I haven't seen him since then, but like, they are able to, through voice to skull, tell people things. So that guy, he's innocent. He's some poor, just homeless guy who they probably started saying stuff in his head with voice to skull, like, this guy, he's bad. You need to stab him. Blah, blah, blah. He looked afraid. Like when he had the fucking, he looked afraid. Like, it's actually fucking hurts my heart that, like, what are they doing to this guy where he wants to fucking stab me? He's a normal guy. He's a victim too. He's being victimized. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. It's like used as a drone, type of a drone. Yeah.
And I want to say, to any of you CIA motherfuckers watching this that monitor me, this guy's a human being. How fucking dare you treat people like fucking animals? You're gonna get what's fucking coming to you, you fucking pieces of shit. You think you're so safe in your technocratic ivory towers. That's the only thing you have. Technology and mind control and illusions and bullshit. What happens when your illusion completely melts? What happens? Like, one of the reasons why they don't want the grid to go down is their whole mind control grid would go down. That could backfire on them big time. Like, there's so many things that these people think they're fucking safe. They think that they have nothing coming to them. Oh, I think they're about to they're fucking around, and they're at the fucking around part right now, and we're approaching the finding out. That's what we're at, where we're at right now.
Yeah,
they're about to find out, because, like, think about it, like, all the things you hear Jessie talk about, me talk about. You want to know why they're able to get away with this shit? Because they do it in secret. They do it in private. That's the only thing protecting them. This whole idea that human beings are evil and we're their pawns and we're just like them. No, we're fucking not. No, we're not. Why would they have to? If we're just like them, then just do it out in the open then. If we're just like you. No, they know, especially here in the United States. The average motherfucker driving around his pickup truck, or whatever, American, like the average American guy who's a gun-owning citizen who just is a normal guy, has a normal job or whatever, if these guys found out that there are bases where they're torturing kids, they would all fucking get in the pickup truck, Harley, fucking come on, we're going. They'd fucking, you know what I mean? They'd go in there. They would swarm these bases and take them out, like, and they would be ready and willing to die to do it. That's the reason why these people are hiding. It's because the average human being, it doesn't take an organized resistance. That's the thing that's what we have on our side. These people, they got to be so organized. They got to plan everything out meticulously. We don't really need that. All we need is the veil to fall down. Because as soon
Right.
as the veil falls down, everybody's going to be in agreement that these people need to die and they need to get off our planet. Nobody's going
Yeah.
to be in disagreement over that. It's one of those things where it's like, we have a lot of division on Earth, right? We don't get along over a lot of things, unfortunately. It's just a fact of life. But if we all found out that they're like satanic lizard people raping and eating our kids, we can unite under that and get rid of them. And that's why they hide
I'd
it.
say
That's why they
exactly.
hide it.
It's exactly why they had it, and I was saying before, so on different shows, it's not just the kids. I mean, it's just not them doing these horrific things with our kids, but they feeding them to all sorts of horrific things, putting them through horrific torture, fear. Yeah, it's on another level, things that we can't even imagine. But I'd like to hear your take, Akim. You say obviously we're aware this is the time of disclosure. This is kind of like the spiritual warfare, right? Um, where these things have been hiding for such a long time, doing atrocious things beneath the surfaces of the earth and everywhere else. So, what is your take? How, where from what you've seen and where you're sitting, how do they exit? What happens that they exit? What do we need to do to get them to exit and leave our planet?
That's a really good question. Military efforts to clear out the bases, which some have already happened and are ongoing, I do believe. But I think I worry about, because there's some people going around saying, oh, day one of the Trump presidency, all the bases got cleared out and stuff like that. I sort of think that's a psyop. I wish that were true, and I hope they're right, but I sort of think that's like a psyop. Like, I don't think things are that good. I think that we have entered like the status quo we had before was really bad. It would have just been a slow burn, and it would have been bad. But the trust that people are putting in I don't want to get political, but I don't have that same trust. I'll just leave it at that. But I do believe that there are efforts within like I think that like the bad guys are so bad. Like there are these really, really evil people. And I feel like, Trump might not be like the best guy in the world. In fact, he's very corrupt in a lot of ways, but I don't think he's like eating babies and stuff. So I think that we might have that in like our artillery right now, is the fact that I don't think they're as if I don't think they're as in control as they were before. However,
Exactly.
I don't think it's I also don't think it's time to just like wait for the powers that be to take care of everything, because I mean there's people saying that Trump is a clone now and all sorts of stuff. Who knows what the heck is going on? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
I
think that,
agree.
yeah, and I think that we just need to remember it's we the people. It's like literally the moment that this ends is when Jim Bob and Tom and Bobby and the normal guys that go to the tavern and hang out and have a drink at the end of a long work shift, when they find out this stuff is real and they know where it's happening, I'm telling you, like they will literally like in droves, like hundreds of like, you know what I mean? Like we
Sure.
can we can disagree on a lot of different things. Like we're a divided country right now. Let's be real. Like the United States is divided, but when it comes to taking these people out, like once they're actually exposed, not just kind of, because right now a lot of it's hypothetical. It's on the internet. People are hearing about it, frazzle drip, and all these things. But I'm talking when it's really like you can't deny it. It's real. There's physical evidence. There's like pictures and stuff, and they show it on the news or whatever. Oh, they're not. People aren't going to put up with this stuff. People are. The average human
Exactly.
being might have. We might not be perfect. We got problems. Okay, humanity's got a lot of problems. We got to work on a lot of things. But the average human being is not like this evil, parasitic, disgusting creature like these elites are. They're not. The average person believes that in the sanctity of life, that children should be honored and respected and allowed the room to thrive and grow, not to be, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like everybody believes in
Absolutely.
that. And so, yeah, I know I've kind of been a broken record on that, but it is a very real and very hopeful message, is that
Yeah.
we can disagree on, people can argue over bathrooms and genders and all this other crap. We can argue over that until the cows come home, okay? But when it comes to like these children and the fact that they're being and what's going on in these bases and all this stuff, nobody's going to argue over the fact that it's wrong and we need to take these people out. There's going to be zero argument over that.
And the way to do it, in my opinion, is obviously it's us, the people, that have got to wake up. We've been under this illusion for such a long time that our governments take care of us and they've got our best interest at heart.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to I want people
Yeah,
to be reminded of what the Trump presidency is. Elon is the richest man on the planet. Trump is a businessman. He's going to try to make deals. He's going to try to make money and things like that. And that's another fancy way of saying corruption. But again, when it comes to the status quo and that establishment, I do think this is different. And I think that from this moment, we can use this because there's going to be a lot of chaos right now. That's what's happening right
yeah,
now.
for
Is
sure.
there's a lot of kicking and then pushing back and back and forth. But in this moment, like the status quo would have just been a slow burn. There's nothing to react to with the status quo. You know what I mean? But now we have an opportunity to react to things because the energy is like moving more. So I think that that's good. But I just think that people,
Yeah,
like I said, we need to remember, like, we probably shouldn't trust the government no matter who is the president. We probably should be really, really careful about that. That's where I'm at. And yeah, and like, I've heard of people talking about seeing Trump at rituals and things like that, like satanic rituals and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Alondra Markman said he's seen him at stuff. So again, I don't. The last thing I want to do is give that man a pass, which so many people are doing, and it makes me very sad, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I don't think that the hopefulness that people have is completely unwarranted. I don't. I think
yeah,
there is a chance for like a positive timeline, like a new Earth, like a better future.
yeah,
Like I think
absolutely.
we're approaching that. Like
Yeah. I absolutely think that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who, and whether it's Trump or Biden or our
which, by the way,
beautiful.
another thing I want to bring up too, like with Biden. That guy was so inept. Like that's such an obvious psyop. Like they made that
Yeah,
guy president for 4 years, and he was so bad that they could have fucking a sack of potatoes could have became president, and we would have been like, thank God.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like because the fact that like he couldn't even do a speech or talk or react to things. So like I just feel like
Exactly.
I just see the psyop like push and pull. Like because like yeah like I don't know. I don't want to stay on the subject for too long, but like, yeah, he was so inept. And then, like I said, you could put pretty much anybody up there, and by comparison, they look amazing because he was so bad.
No, I agree. I mean, and I think that's so obvious. I mean, there were so many pictures and things we saw of him, and it was definitely not him with his mask. And the old Joe Biden and the new Joe Biden, I mean, it's so obvious it's not the same person. I have to say the old Joe Biden was much better looking than this,
Yeah,
whoever
he
this.
was, and uh,
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of funny because like apparently there's an actor that plays him, and Penny Bradley has posted this picture. Like, apparently, it's just like an actor. Like it's not even like a clone or anything. It's just
Yeah, I heard James Woods or something. That's what I
yeah,
heard.
yeah, yeah. So Penny Bradley, who's somebody you should have on the show. Honestly, if you haven't had her already, she's great. She's
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, that it's like, and the world's a stage thing. Like I kind of think that's still true, and I think like people have forgotten that. Like I don't know. It's I don't,
Yeah.
my memories of everything going on aren't completely clear. So I wish I had more context where I could tell people like factually what is actually going on behind the scenes. Um, but my memory isn't clear enough. But I can just say that I do believe that uh, we have the opportunity to change the timeline and create something more positive. But we shouldn't trust the powers that be blindly. That's very,
Exactly.
very dangerous.
What I'm interested to know as well, I mean, I know you said you spent most of your time on Centurion 5, which is more military based, with a different sort of groups and things.
Yeah, so there's different altars, and I should be clear with that. So Ryan Sterling was aware of what was going on, and he was stationed there. They're first colonizing the planet, he knew what was going on. He had instructions. He knew what was going on. And there was Marshall Howard, who, like I said, he got memories back. He was getting bleed through, but he wasn't supposed to, and he was supposed to just be a normal lackey, just helping part of the force building up the planet. But something that I want to bring up that I didn't bring up yet is I was a time cop on the planet. So Ryan Sterling there was a mountain on Centurion, and I lived in the mountain, and there was a landing pad that was cloaked so you couldn't see it. It just looked like mountain. And basically I lived in there, and it was like a fancy hotel inside the mountain, like really fancy. You got checked in, they had to scan your hand and like make sure you're you and stuff. Like it was very fancy, very high class, but also it was kind of like being in a prison because you're being monitored, and you're owned by these people. But basically my job was going around and making sure that history played out the way that it was supposed to on Centurion. So they would send me into situations to change things and make things happen. And
Timeline. So was that the timeline that you did? Timeline, or to change history, and to make things happen the way they wanted it to. So was that when you were then sent on the different timelines to change things there?
No, it was okay. So we were sent back. I was sent back to the beginning of Centurion, and we started colonizing it, which instantly forever changed the history of their planet. They were a xenophobic species, the Aurelians. Their planet disappeared half the time and wasn't even in our reality. And yeah, they just weren't really a target. But because of where they were located and the fact that their planet like disappeared and stuff, they became a target. And the whole point was just to get the planet on track, and for this battle. There was a battle in the future that we needed to win. And once we won the battle, the population was thinned out, and it was turned into a resort getaway for the ultra elite. And the Aurelians were given a lot of their planet back. And the way that they set that up was I actually, it's in my book, Time and Space Unlimited, which is on Amazon. Time and Space by Unlimited by ARKHEIM RA. Check it out, people. But one of the lives that I lived there, which was a time mission, which I did not know was a time mission. It was so I've talked before about how monarch programming is when they put you into life, make you do something, you're programmed to do it, and you are not even aware of it. You think you're just living a normal life. They did that to me, and I was a chef. And what happened was I was an orphan. So the orphan trains, this is important. You know anybody here with the orphan trains and
Yeah.
Tartaria and all that? That's
Yep.
just colonization, and that's resetting the population, getting rid of, making the people who are like replacing the population with a new model of human that obeys better, and they've done that several times and stuff, and it all has to do with colonization, cloning, and all that stuff. And I remember the Cabbage Patch Kids and the orphan trains and stuff like that all existed on Centurion 5, and I was an orphan. And basically I lived on the streets. um, the food at the orphanage was just garbage, and I begged for food in the streets and stuff like that, and the people there were not very helpful towards the orphans and stuff like that, and they kind of just spit on us and stuff like that. They didn't really care about us. But there was this restaurant, an Aurelian restaurant, and this was a time where they were a second class species on their own planet. It's like, imagine like segregation in America. Well, they were the segregated. They were like basically like how black people were treated in America, except arguably maybe even worse, because they're a separate species, so that racism was even more intense. You know what I mean? But basically, there was an Aurelian where in the culture it was kind of slowly shifting towards where you could talk to Alarians and do business with them, and it was still kind of not looked. It was kind of looked down upon, but it was more becoming more accepted. And in that spirit, there was an Aurelian who had a restaurant, and he was trying to. So the humans on Centurion 5 could not afford like normal meals, like normal food. Like they're eating this pay stuff all the time, and they want to eat like real food, and it costs like a whole paycheck to eat at a restaurant. And only the elite class, they can afford to eat like real food at restaurants. Well, the Illyrian wanted to make it an option for the workers getting off work to be able to eat somewhere and actually be able to afford it. And he was trying to figure out how to make like Aurelian human fusion food where humans would actually eat it. But their taste buds are different. They taste totally like the way they taste things is totally, and the things they like to eat. They like eating grubs and live bugs and things like that. We don't like that. So like they had to change a lot to make this place work. And when I arrived there, it was as a dirty, smelly orphan who, instead of asking for free food, I said I will do dishes in the kitchen in exchange for a meal, and he liked that. The guy who ran the restaurant, uh and basically, he I would go there about every day to eat a meal and wash dishes for an hour after the lunch rush. And one day, I washed the dishes and I was getting ready to go. And he says to me, "Where are you going?" So I'm leaving. Thank you for the food. He said, "If you've watched him prep every day, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I have." He's like, and keep in mind, there's an Aurelian, there's an alien talking to me. And he's like, "Okay, so do we need to give you instructions on how to do prep for dinner? Because I don't want to have to train anybody, or I need somebody, and I don't want to have to train anybody. I don't want to. Can you do this?" And I said yes. And he's like, "All right, you've got a full-time job here now." And he's like, "You can sleep here tonight. You can sleep on the floor in the dining room." I went from being a fucking animal, treated like an animal, to being treated like by a human being. And it was an alien. An alien. Human beings wouldn't treat me like a human. But this alien, I feel bad even calling him that, because he became my father. Like, this Aurelian, like, I'm getting emotional thinking about him. Like, he was my father. He took care of me. He eventually moved me into his home, and I lived with him against his wife's wishes. She did not want me to move in with them, but eventually she warmed up to me and she liked me. And then what ended up happening, and like I said, I think this was a psyop. Like, I literally think this life and this whole thing was a psyop to change the perspective of the Aurelians in preparation to sort of softly give their planet back to them. Because, like, what ended up happening is eventually he retired. The Aurelian did, firstly, it was only the lowest of the low class people coming to our restaurant. People were poor and hungry, and that was good enough for us. They got to eat, and it wasn't some weird chemical paste the government fucking made for them, and we made money. And win-win scenario, capitalism. You know what I mean? Like, commerce. But
Wow.
yeah, but basically, it was, like I said, a social taboo until one day these two ladies came in, and there were these really rich ladies who they had a newspaper column, like a column in the newspaper that they wrote. Everybody knew who they were, and they were very eccentric. And because of their eccentricism, it kind of got a free. They were the first upper class people to come into our restaurant and eat there. And I remember it being like them coming into the kitchen and being like, those ladies are here, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is fucking huge." And I remember, like, we fed them, and they're like, "This is amazing. This food is incredible. I've never had anything like this. Like, oh my god." And so then they did a little article on it in the newspaper, and then next thing you know, there's a fucking line out the door for our restaurant. Everybody wants to eat there, and we have to start charging more money for our food. And then their copycat restaurants start popping up, copying us and stuff like that to cater to the humans. And it was
Wow.
yes, and it was a huge moment in Centurion 5's history, Aurelia's history, where he handed the keys of the restaurant to me. So an Aurelian man raised a human and then gave them his restaurant, which they built together from the ground up, from basically nothing, right? This was a hugely inspirational story. I remember newspapers coming from across the planet to interview me. And, like, the ceremony of him giving me the restaurant, there was cameras and a huge crowd, and, like, it was huge. And I was like fucking like Gordon Ramsay on this planet after this shit. Like, I was, like, famous. Like, there are TV cameras in my restaurant and stuff like that. And yeah, that's like I said, I think that was a psyop, like, time mission that I was sent into to changed, because the perspective needed to be for the colonization, fuck the All-Aryans. Fuck them. This is our planet. That had to be the mentality in order to do the takeover. But once we won that battle, they wanted to thin out the population, turn it into a resort planet, and kind of quietly let the Aurelians have their planet back, sort of. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why they did that, is to set up the political climate to where people wouldn't be like, how dare you? There was like some racist phrase they called them. Like, how dare you give them whatever? I can't remember what it was, but like, how dare you give them they're just animals or whatever. It changed the perspective. And the fact that humans wouldn't take care of me and left me rotting in the streets, but this Aurelian took care of me, that was like the PR stunt for the Aurelians. It was like, how dare we treat them this way? It just changed it to change the paradigm on their planet, on the planet of Centurion.
That is incredible. Wow, what an incredible story. But I mean, I love hearing that because again, it just shows, it's about the spirit, right? There's kindness. Kindness is available around every corner, and you can choose to be kind or not, and it doesn't matter. And I just find that interesting because what you're explaining, it's almost like these companies doing hostile takeovers, right? On Earth. So on a corporate level, you're always hearing about these hostile takeovers. And what you're explaining to me now, it's almost like they're doing these hostile takeovers on these breakaway colonies, right? Would you say that's something similar?
There's another thing that I can tell you about. I did a whole show on it with Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress, on the planet Anga, and that planet is being colonized by Israel right now. Israeli Defense Force is colonizing their planet. They're doing the same exact things that they did to the Gazans, just carpet bombing them. They're poisoning their food. They're flying over because it's like a desert planet. They're like basically shooting. They're shooting whole, like breaking the glass roofs of the greenhouses and then spraying them with chemicals that not only kill the food but ruin the soil so it's unusable. Basically, Israel is carrying out, Netanyahu is carrying out a genocide on a planet called Anga right now.
Why? What's happening? What is on Anga that he wants?
I don't know. Probably just something strategic military importance. I'm not sure. I asked.
What kind of beings inhabit Anga?
There's humans that live there for long, really like thousands of years. A humanoid species that lives there that's a lot like us. And then that I was a part of. I think the Black Cube sent me there. Because basically how I got this was I woke up one morning and an altar took me over and was talking in a language that I can't understand. That's not real. It's not on Earth. But I could start understanding him. And it was crazy. It was crazy because this apparently is an altar of mine. His name is Arid or something. I had it written down somewhere, but Jaren. His name is Jaren. Jarrn. Jaron, maybe even, I think it would have been Jaron. But anyway, he was standing and it was so crazy because I've had altars take me over before, but this was the first time where the altar was physically occupying a body on another planet, and I was connected with them by a thread. So it was like I was on Anga and I was here at the same time. It was like I was bilocated, and I could feel the air. I could smell I could see the hut he was in. I could see what he was wearing. They wear like a brown cloak type thing and really baggy clothing, and they wear a black mask over their face. They're wearing masks on this planet. Their face it's so hot and stuff. They have to dress this way. And he was just talking to me. And he was crying. I literally was in tears. He's like, we've had thousands of years of peace on planet Anga. Relative peace. There's been skirmishes, but relative peace. And out of nowhere, Netanyahu just comes from the fucking sky, and just a black swarm, and just starts taking everything by force. Just blitzkrieg, just bombing everybody, poisoning their food, poisoning the water so they can't drink it, So like they're poisoning the water supply of the planet, and they're just like, oh, we'll just bring in water from asteroids. Like they're fucking up the planet, like destroying it. And he wanted me know. He's like, Angwa is my planet's name. He's like, I know Angwa. Like I talk to Angwa. Like we're all connected to Angwa. Like our religion is Angwa. Like we all like. He explained to me that the worms, the ants, the centipedes, like all the different species on the planet, all had the same religion. Like the humans had the same religion as the centipedes and they worshiped Angwa. And water is like a huge part of all the religions, like because it's more sparse on it's a desert planet. So like a water is a huge part of the religion. But like it's just so much like Dune. It was so much like Dune. But like yeah, so I just that monster Netanyahu was pulling the same shit out in the breakaways. That guy's a fucking monster. Like seriously, like he told me he showed me his face. He's like, Netanyahu, do you know this man? I'm like, yes. He's like, we know him too. I know him all the way out here. He's literally like to him, he's like Satan himself incarnate, like the most evil man you could possibly ever encounter. And yeah, he also told me on a positive note, he's like, I know who you are on Angwa. He's like, people know who you are throughout the galaxy. He's like, you're making way more of an impact than you think you are. And what he told me, he said, we're reaching a precipice. He said, we're reaching a point where timelines are merging, and we're either going to go towards a sour timeline or a positive timeline. He's like, this isn't an option, motherfucker. Like, sorry for swearing, but he's like, this is not an option. He's like, you do not understand the amount of people that are going to suffer, the amount of lives that will be lost, and the sheer like gravity of how he's like, it's not an option. You have to bring us to the higher timeline. We cannot be like, you need to speak up about Angwa. You need to speak up about this stuff. Like he was very adamant about it, and he was very adamant with the fact that what we're doing here right now, all of us, you, me, like people who are doing disclosure, he was very adamant about the fact that it's way, way more important than like we already think it's important, right? Like it's obviously important to us.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's even more important than you're currently comprehending. Like you're making way more of an impact than you think you are. He's like, I wouldn't be reaching out to you from another planet throughout time and space through telepathy if I didn't think it, if I thought it didn't matter. Like he's like, it matters. You matter. And it was just crazy. It's just crazy. I don't even know if he's still alive. He was literally like fighting a war against the IDF on the surface of Angwa. And I asked him where it was. He said, where is Angwa? He said, our sun is he said they're in the Milky Way. I think he said they're in the Milky Way. I don't know. He actually never said that. He didn't say where it was. He said our sun is the reddest star in the sky. And he said that the sun is like red there. That's what he told me. When I asked him where it was, he couldn't really tell me, but he said our sun is the reddest star in the sky.
Wow.
That's a real place, you guys. I promise you. Angwa is a real place.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's actually happening right now. I know you believe me, but like, just reiterating it. Like, this is an actual planet out there being carpet bombed by the IDF and just being taken over with brutal force. Why do you think they don't want you to know about the breakaways? Like, if we knew about the breakaways, Black Terror on Mars during the 80s, when they were just blitzkrieging Mars, people would have protested in the streets on Earth. People would have stopped going to work. Like, there's a reason why they don't want us to know about this stuff going on, because it's all connected. We have the power to stand up for these people here, but they take it away from us by it's all in darkness. But like that's why they keep it. Yes,
absolutely. And I agree with you what you're saying about what we. I've also definitely had that message over and over again. Those of us who are disclosing and whistleblowing, and not necessarily, you don't have to be a survivor or a whistleblower, just the whole entire movement of what we're doing here is so important. And that's why we have so many infiltrators as well, because you're going to get those that it's like the 80-20. They'll give you 80% right information, 20% false information.
And unfortunately, a big thing happening right now in this community is well-meaning, awesome people who want the best for disclosure, and they're just, the information is being clouded and they're being psyoped and controlled and manipulated, and it's not even their own fault. This is happening to people who are great people, who are wonderful people. Like, for instance, a lot of these channelers who are channeling stuff, they're just channeling V2K CIA propaganda. Literally.
So when you say, okay,
Elon Musk is gonna take us to the fucking stars. We're already in the stars. Like some of these messages that are
okay,
out there.
can you talk about some of these channelers? I don't know if you can mention names and the things
I
they're
don't want to
saying.
mention names because I respect even the people who are wrong. Some of them I really respect. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I'll say the narratives. The narrative that Elon Musk is going to bring us to the stars and he's going to save humanity and he cares about humanity so much. I've literally watched this man feast on human flesh, and so has Jessie. Like, he's not what people think he is at all. He's a billionaire. Like, I don't understand how this movement has gotten so co-opted that people would literally look up to Elon Musk. And like the message, I don't even understand it. Like I said, I'm not naming names, but a certain individual, and it's being parroted by many, put out the message that he's going to bring us to the stars and he's going to do all this stuff for humanity. It's like, yo, we're already out there. I don't understand how that even gets on a disclosure channel. Like, you've got countless people talking about being on Mars, being on other planets, how we've already colonized, like we've got the moon of Titan and all this stuff. We got like this whole solar system and galaxy as human life scattered through it all over the place. So the whole idea that he's going to bring us to the stars is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous. And just, yeah, really just honestly, like this whole, there's just a real big divide and conquer narrative going on right now. And then and this is the sad part is like a lot of times like the people on the left are like right about stuff and sometimes they're wrong about stuff. And it's the same thing with the right wing. It's like sometimes they totally on the money and they're 100% right, and sometimes they're wrong. And what it is it's red. I've talked about this before. Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, back and forth. What's on a siren on a police car or an ambulance? Emergency, emergency, emergency. They create chaos with sigil magic. Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. That's why I don't trust this Trump thing like everybody else. I'm not trying to just shit on it and be like, don't have any hope. We're not going to enter a positive timeline. It's all doom and gloom. But like I see, like I said, Joe Biden was so inept. It was obviously on purpose. And now you got a guy who actually knows how to complete a sentence and can respond to questions without an earpiece like telling him how to respond to it. You could tell he was being like Joe. He was like, he had an earpiece, like, you know what I mean? You could tell he had like listen to say it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, yeah, I can see why people are optimistic, and I don't want to rain on their parade, but at the same time, like, people do need to understand the mind control. It's just binary programming, 0, 1, 0.
But isn't that interesting though? If we're looking at the red, blue, you're looking at the whole movie, The Matrix, red pole, blue pole. Which pole do you take, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that all? I mean, I'm just like doom, you know.
Yeah,
so it's
I
like
didn't even think about that. It is really interesting. And yeah, it's really like the binary programming. It's like, because like computers, right? This computer that we're talking on right now, it is binary programming, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Well, quantum computers can use an alphabet, a draconian alphabet, or we count things by tens, they count things by eights, or they count things by 12s. So the math we use is just really simple, like really dumbed down. I've heard that even they made us have less fingers because it has something to do with the ability to count and math. And I don't know if that's true, but I've heard like people talk about that, and it could be true. I wouldn't be surprised. But basically, like, it's binary programming. Like, the chessboard, black and white tile, and then in the Masonic halls, it's black and white tile. And it's showing you the binary programming, and it's oversimple. And that's what's going on right now. Is so many situations people look at them black and white. They're not seeing the nuance. Like, in a lot of these situations, you got the right wing guy over here saying their narrative, and the left wing person over here saying their narrative, and they're kind of both wrong, but kind of both right. Because of the binary programming, though, people are unable to see that and meet in the middle, and that's designed. They're doing that on purpose because divide and conquer. That's the best way to do things for them.
Right. Wow. It makes that's true. It's. I mean, I don't even have the words right now, but it's all coming together, and it's making a lot of sense to me. It's like what they're doing on these breakaway colonies is pretty much what they're doing here, right? If you're looking at, I mean, what you were saying, spraying, was it the Angwans?
Yeah, Angwa.
Right?
Yeah, the Angwans.
Angwans, yeah.
poisoning their
With,
food, poisoning their water.
that's what they're doing
One thing
here.
he did
That's what
say
they're
though,
doing here with the
one
chemtrails.
thing he did say though, because he knew of my existence, and he was like, "You think you got to like it's just to be fair to him, out of love for my heart to him, it's so much worse there. It's so much worse. It's literally just a straight up genocide. Like they're just killing everything and everyone, and we have it much better here on Earth actually." I don't know if I can say the same thing for the people of Gaza and stuff like that. Obviously, people in war torn regions would probably disagree with me, but just like the fact that we have a safe place to stay, food in the fridge, clean water to drink, like that is privilege compared to what the Angwans are facing right now.
And
Like
from what you're
so,
saying, you're actually allowed to own property, yeah? Right? I mean, are you saying they can't? It's more like communism there by the sounds of things.
well, Angwa is not where you're. I think you're confusing Centurion with Angwa.
Yes, Centurion. Sorry,
Uh,
sorry, sorry,
yeah, Angwa's
Centurion.
actually like super primitive. They didn't really have much technology there. They did have technology, but it was really simple and only really what they needed. But Centurion, I would describe it as hyper capitalism. Actually, I would not describe it as socialism or communism at all. Like it was a ruling class that ruled over everybody with brutal force. Everybody had to work like, and the whole idea was you could climb your way up through the ranks if you just worked hard enough. But that's a fucking lie. And I don't know. I feel like it was more like hyper capitalism. Like the idea of the World Economic Forum,
Okay.
they want capitalism 2.0. Like they're like, okay, we have to figure out a way to like, and that's like renting things to people, like intellectual property, like all this stuff. So like, I think that it's actually sort of like a hyper form of capitalism, and I do believe that the aversion towards socialism, and I know a lot of people might not like this, but I think that might be programming because honestly, if you look at any planet where people are living in peace, and like that's part of the reason why they don't want us to see the breakaways, is because there are colonies out there, ET and human and otherwise, where they're living under forms of government that we are told can't exist and would never work. Like because every single time we try to do something like that here, it gets infiltrated and taken over and corrupted. But there have been planets, human and otherwise, human colonies even, where they've figured out a system where people are actually treated equally, things are fair, and there isn't like a hierarchy, like a super uber hierarchy ruling class that rules over everybody. So yeah, like I just think that like yeah, like obviously like and then there's of course like the horseshoe theory. I don't know if you know about that. Like if you go too far right and if you go too far left, you end up in the same place. It's called
Yeah,
horseshoe theory. I think there might be some truth to that. It's all about
yeah,
balance.
yeah. I agree. Wow. Wow, how interesting. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, I was gonna say there has to be as many. I mean, we have a lot of malevolent planets, it seems, right? But they've got to be benevolent ones as well, right?
There are, and there are,
Yeah,
and there are many ET colonies out there that are positive and beautiful, and they've existed for thousands of years, and they're inspiring. And if every human on Earth could just like I don't know visit like the capital of the Pleiades colonies or something like that for just a
I
day,
was about to
right?
ask you about the
Yeah,
Pleiades.
like they'd be like, wow, people can live like this. What the hell are we doing? You know what I mean? No one would. It takes a great deal of manipulation and mind control and like just resources and just to make us live this way. Like it's actually way easier to just live in peace and live in harmony. It's like this is what takes like mental gymnastics and like a great deal of effort. It's actually hard. It living in peace and living amongst each other is easy. Like that's the programming. The programming is thinking because what we have right now is everybody knows the current system is frigged. It's
Yes.
wrong. It doesn't work. It's broken. But what we're at right now is okay. What? How do we imagine a new system that does work? How do you? And then we looked at we've tried socialism, communism, and I'm not a historian like an earth historian, but from what I can see and from what most people can see, it's not worked. It's backfired. It's had problems. Like, so there's no model to look at where we're like, that's how we'll do it. Like, it's like, I think we have to come up with something kind of totally new. And I feel like that's part of the problem what people have. It's just like, well, it's either this, or these things that already existed. It's like, wait, so, you know, you realize communism was invented before, like, we even had the internet. Like, so, like, maybe it's outdated, right? Like, maybe all of these systems are outdated and we need to figure out something new that sort of uses the tenets of. And I just think that, like, no matter what system, like, I think the most important thing that needs to be brought forward with the new system is trying to avoid hierarchy when possible and trying to make sure that people are treated like humans, like treated like with dignity.
Absolutely.
I think that's way easier than people like I said, I think it's actually like we're brainwashed into thinking that's hard. I feel like that actually wouldn't be that hard.
Absolutely. It's our natural way of being, because, you know, when we look at what true power really is, it's not how big or strong or muscly you are, right? And or how fast you can pull your gun. I don't know. It's really a true power is coming from the richness of spirit, which is kindness, it's compassion, it's faith, it's all of these things. Because when we really, and that's, you know, that's the glory of God, or whatever, what people call it, the heaven lives within you, right? God, we are created in the image of God, and we have to realize that. And when we do, we tap into these incredible, these qualities of spirit, which is the essence of spirit, which is compassion, empathy. And there's a big difference between empathy and sympathy, right? You don't want to be sympathetic, you want to be empathetic. And, you know, this is where when we start understanding language and the energy, and this is, I can see where spellcasting comes in as well. You know, even with words as subtle as empathetic and sympathetic, they have a very similar meaning, but their frequency is very different. They mean something actually very different. So it's about understanding how we use our words, how we use our language, and how we actually allow that to come forth, because that is truly your voice. Someone's voice can be the biggest weapon of mass resurrection or mass destruction, right? I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes. And I really do believe that, like, it sounds silly, but like creating this better world and this paradigm, a lot of it just starts with like taking care of yourself. Like, seriously, like just eat better food, exercise, like just try to be happy. Like that, like with the world the way it is, there's planes exploding and like people are afraid to travel, which is a psyop. They're manufacturing, they're doing that on purpose. With all that kind of stuff going on, where they're trying to scare people, it's really important to not feed into it, and to try to find a place of bliss. That's what they want us to be freaked out. So if we can just do what we can in our everyday lives to just be happy and just enjoy ourselves, like, it actually is, we it's a form of resistance in a way. We do need to like actually resist. Like, I don't want to be like toxic positivity. Like, all you got to do is do yoga and eat kale and the world peace will happen.
No, we don't that.
But
yoga is good.
But it is good to take care of your body, to take care of yourself. And honestly, you got to start there. You can't like take care of the earth and start a revolution, all these things, if you're not even taking care of yourself. So that's a really great place for us to all start. And make sure you poop. No, it's in the comments. Someone said make sure you poop.
That's gonna only be Jessica.
You gotta whatever what comes in must be released. So yes, this is important.
Must be healthy in every way. I agree. No, I totally agree with that. Wow. Sure. I want to just see if there's anything that's come up in the comments. I haven't been watching the comments much late. I'm just busy chatting to you. But yeah. So it seems like also what you're saying is that everything that's happening outside of the earthly realm. Okay, hang on. Let me rephrase that. Whatever's happening here on Earth is actually happening in the colonies or planets, whatever, around us too. So they're spraying other planets with all sorts of chemical warfare, stuff like that. It's what they're doing here. So it's like they seem to be repeating there but here as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, like the situation with Angwa in Palestine, it's the same thing, except Palestine is a small strip of land in the Middle East, and Angwa is a planet. It's the same thing.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that's true. They just use a lot of the same methods and stuff like that, and let's look at how the Europeans brutally colonized the Americas and stuff like that. We're doing that in space, and right now with like Mars, like we got kicked off of Mars. That's current history right now. We're getting kicked off of Mars. The Mars Germans are now going to Titan. We got kicked off of Mars, like, and it's because we tried to colonize it. We tried to colonize it. We tried to take it over with brutal force, and it didn't work. And I remember being brought to a ship that had captured one of the fly queens. So there's flies. These flies that fly around, and they're sentient flies. And I remember telepathically, I was trying to find their nest, because we're gonna bomb it. It's disgusting. On Mars, we said, what do we say? It's something about bugs. It was when it comes to bugs, it's either squash or be squashed. That's what we would say on Mars. When it comes to bugs, it's either squash or be squashed. So we were very much so just kill them all. Kill them all. It is disgusting. And I remember the queen telling me telepathically when I went to her mind, she's like, "You're not going to win this planet." She's like, "You don't understand. This is an unhospitable planet. It is hard to live here." She's like, "You are not, we've been here thousands of years. You're not going to fucking win this war. You're going to lose." And she told me, "When you see us coming, there will be nowhere to run. We will cover the entire sky. The sky will turn black." That's what she said, because we knew we hadn't seen them for a while, and we knew that they were hiding, and that's what they're doing. They were breeding, and they're getting ready for an attack. And sure enough, she was right. She was right. She had some sort of thing where, like, I was trying to go in her mind and find the nest, and I don't think I could find it. I think she, like, killed herself before I could get the information. And we got kicked off Mars. She was right. She was right. And another thing I remember too that was really sad is I remember an ant getting on top of me, and it had its things around. It had its hands like around. It was like, and I remember it was like he was just so confused. He's just like, "Why are you doing this? We've been here for thousands of years. Like, why do you have to leave where you come from to kill us all and live here? You're like,
Wow.
why?" Like, it was so confused in the sadness. This, you psychotic fucking monkey. What is fucking wrong with you? Like, you shouldn't even be here. Why? This planet is like a hell to you people. Why do you even want to live here? Because it was. It kind of was. I mean, there's people like John Whitberg, like, he considers Mars his home. Like, there's things about it that people love it, even though it's an inhospitable wasteland. Not, but like,
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, the good news is we and stuff like that was genocide. Yeah, we so yeah, but I consider that good news. I consider it good news that the native Martians are getting their planet back.
That's actually incredible because, we're hearing about Mars and Elon. And I mean, I was watching a podcast not too long ago, where he's.
Can I take an opportunity to do something? I want to
Yeah.
formally apologize to the natives of Mars. I want to apologize to the ant people. This is seriously like nothing. Like, I need to do this on like a stage in front of thousands of people. Like, this does not count, but this is the first time, and hopefully of many, that I'm going to make this apology. I apologize for what I did on Mars. I apologize for being part of the Black Terror. I apologize for fighting against the ants and mantid people. I am sorry for what I did. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I cannot express it with words. You deserved the right to have peace, to have your planet. We had no right being there. We had no right coming in. We were the monsters. We were the bad guys. I am ashamed. I am ashamed of what I was a part of. and I just want to apologize. I want to apologize. I don't think there's a single ant person watching this, but just for the universe, I just want to put it out there that I am so sorry for what I participated in. It was genocide. It was crimes on the highest level. Whoever ordered this stuff to be happened, whoever allowed this to occur, they deserve to rot in prison for the rest of their lives. It's unacceptable, and yeah, I just wanted to say that.
So tell us about the ant people. What do they look like? What are they like? How big are they?
They're about the size of this kitchen. It'd be hard for one to fit in this kitchen. They're big. Yeah, it'd be hard for one to fit in this kitchen. They're that big. Like the size of like 8 cows put together. I don't know what my metric would be. They're big. And they're here on Earth. They exist on Earth too. Mars and the Hopi are connected to the ant people. They know about the ant people. Their elders still meet with the ant people. The elder of the Hopi tribe, like, meets with the ant people like annually or every 4 years or something like that. Like physically, like, and they're here on Earth as well. And like Earth and Mars are like sister planets, and that's something that's been stolen from us. Like we don't know that. Like we're kind of always been sister planets, and only until recently has this divide occurred. And they're peaceful. They have kind of like a hive mind, which probably helps with the peacefulness. That because of that, there's not really skirmishes among them. They have a hive mind. They have like a queen, like the ants did. They work in tandem with the spiders. The spiders are sort of like their pets. They defend They live in like caves, and like when you first start going into the caves, you'll run into the spiders.
Spiders are ants' pets. No, okay, I have to hear about this. How does that come to be? How does a spider get to be an ant person's pet?
Symbiosis, symbiotic relationship between species. What is that called? Symbiotic relationship definition. Mutualism. Yeah. So basically, they're mutualism. So, shrimp and goby fish live together in a burrow. The fish warns the shrimp of danger. So, in this situation, the ants are the fish, and the shrimp are the ants. Or yeah, the fish are the spiders, and the shrimp are the ants. So they are the guardians of the caves that they live in. They warn them of danger. And also, my alter Edward has had a pet spider. If you are telepathic, humans can also have them as pets. You need to be telepathic. They bond with their owner telepathically, and it's crazy. Like there's hash on Mars. This is funny. There's hash, like weed hash, like cannabis hash.
Hashish?
Yeah. They grow it in like underground hydroponic, and Edward was telling Kat, my partner, that there's hash spiders, and basically they'll fucking put a backpack full of a giant brick of hash on the back of a spider, and its owner will telepathically say, all right, go to the city of whatever and bring it to this place. And because of that, like when they get stopped by police or whatever in the desert, it's a spider. It doesn't have an ID. It doesn't have, there's no way to trace where the hash came. What are you going to do? Throw the spider? And it's like pretty much like the equivalent of like a very intelligent dog. What are you going to do? Throw it in prison? So like they use the spiders for drug smuggling, for smuggling drugs and smuggling hash. And like my alter Edward, yeah, isn't that crazy? My alter Edward actually had a pet spider. My alter Edward had a pet spider named Harry, and he would ride him like a horse. Like he'd ride him around. For real.
How big is a spider?
Isn't that wild? They're big. They're like really big. Like the ants are bigger. They're about like 1/3 of the size of the ants, but they're like the size of like a horse, like maybe a little bigger. You can ride them. But of course, like I said, you have to be telepathic. They're not like an animal you can like snap your finger at.
I want a pet spider. Can I have one? Where do I find one?
Mars, and it's hard to get one because
have you got a contact for me?
Yeah, it's hard. I forget. I know that Edward had the spider since it was a baby. Yeah,
Wow.
they're about the size of like two horses, I would say, and their legs are really long too. So that kind of adds like because their bodies are actually fairly small, but their legs are really long.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. I mean, I think that is so fascinating. I definitely want to see that. Can you send me a little chip of what's in your mind so I can just
I did
get a
make an
visual of that,
AI
please?
picture of like a guy riding a spider. It's pretty easy. Just type in "man riding a giant spider" into one of these AI apps, and it'll show you it. But yeah, it's totally real, and the spiders are out there. David Bowie, Spiders on Mars. He was talking about that stuff. David Bowie's in the programs. By the way, too, another aspect we can go in
David
this.
Bowie. Well,
David, the next time I come on the
this,
show, we could talk about the music industry because I'm heavily connected to
oh,
that.
definitely. I was going to ask you about the planets in the music industry. Where did those guys come from? They must be like on another level, right?
There's a book coming out about Elvis, about how he's actually from the moon of Jupiter, and he was basically clairvoyant, and he was psychic, and he was a Montauk time soldier. Elvis. So was John Lennon. So was Kurt Cobain. So was Tupac Shakur. So was I could go on and on of all these famous people who were Montauk time soldiers. Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. That's Preston Nichols' daughter, biological daughter. There's also some famous singer who's one of Preston Nichols' son who looked just like him. He looked just like Preston. But yeah, like Centurion 5 had a recording studio on it. I actually there's this cult called Ordo Templum Nephilim, which is connected to Max Martin and Dennis Pop. Okay, and it's like this weird like Midsummer. Like if you've ever seen that movie Midsummer, like it's about this weird Swedish cult. They're like that in real life, except they have access to time travel portals and stuff. And basically, uh, In Sync, I've written some of their songs. Britney Spears, I've written some of their songs. My Heart Will Go On, that's my song. The Weekend, uh, um, Save Your Tears for Another Day, Blinded by the Lights, Break Everything into Pieces. Their song Forever Alone sounds just like Blinding. People after the show, listen to Blinding Lights by The Weekend and listen to Forever Alone by Break Everything into Pieces, Smash Everything into Pieces. It sounds like it was made by the same person because it was. It was made by me. And not only that, the music video for Forever Alone, Break Everything into or Smash Everything into Pieces by them is literally footage of a breakaway planet. It's literally like bird's eye. You're like you see the ships, they're hovering over people. It's literally just footage of a breakaway planet. And that song and other timelines was given to Chester Bennington. Chester Bennington is also in the programs. Um, who else? Like it's the music aspect. I mean, we could do a whole show on that. I was part of this cult. I would wake up and they would sacrifice me. So what they would do is I would wake up in a cloning tube. This guy would bring me to Chiron Studios in Stockholm. I would work on music with them. I would sing. They would come up with the melodies for the song, and then they called me the boy who sings, the boy who sings, and they would they would basically get me to work on the song, and then during the recording of the song, they would sacrifice and kill me. While this red hit light, they called it the hit light, which you can find footage of him talking about the red. It's a red light that would turn on in the studio and be like, "Oh, it's a hit, it's a hit." That's them gathering the loose energy. It's a ritual, and so I would wake up. They would kill me, and I would wake up in this tube again. I wouldn't remember anything, and I remember Britney Spears. And Britney Spears, I'd see her, and she'd be like, "Hey, how's it going, blah, blah, blah?" And she like knew my name and stuff. I'm like, "I don't remember you. Who are you?" And she at first thought I was messing with her, like I was joking, and then eventually she realized, no, I literally don't remember. Every time, don't remember her. And it got worse and worse for her. But yeah, obviously, we're towards the end, so I can't really go much more on this. But if you'd like, we could do a whole show on the music industry and how it's used to control the population, how it's used to launder money, sex trafficking. There's doing sex trafficking. It's been said that Michael Jackson's dad made more money off of pimping him out than the actual music. So like, there's so much darkness when it comes to the
Yeah.
music industry, and it has everything to do with the fact that these people have no fucking creativity, and all they can do is steal it from other people, and it's just a time travel operation where they've just done that on a whole nother level. There's songs from alternate realities, like for instance, like Dream On by Aerosmith is actually by a band from Detroit, Michigan, in an alternate reality called JetBlue. and the company JetBlue, the airline company, doesn't exist in that reality. And the guy who founded JetBlue is from Detroit. Okay, like it's not a coincidence. Like these people have little symbols for each other that they show each other that they know about the other reality. The reason why the Nickelodeon trophy is a Zeppelin is because in the alternate reality where a lot of these stars come from, like Amanda Bynes, for instance, in the alternate reality in the 1920s, she was part of the vaudeville era of comedy. She was one of the most famous women on the planet Earth. There's like statues of her in New Orleans and stuff like that. Super famous. And they kidnapped her, brought her to this reality to use her for Nickelodeon. Against, she doesn't know, like MK Ultra out. And the Zeppelin, when they give that award, they're showing people, yes, we do know Amanda is from that reality. Yes, we kidnapped her from there.
Wow.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
crazy.
fascinating. It is so fascinating that
Nickelodeon means theater. Nickelodeon just means, she said, someone in the comments says it means something in another language. It just means theater. It just means cinema. And in the alternate reality, they're called Nickelodeons still to this day. When you go to a movie, you're like, let's go to the Nickelodeon. In the Zeppelin reality, they're still called Nickelodeons. That's the whole reason why they call the channel Nickelodeon. It's all, and they're Satanists. They're Satanists. Brian Peck was pen pals with John Wayne Gacy and literally had a signed painting of John Wayne Gacy in one of his rooms in his house. They are connected to Satanism. It's satanic. They're part of the cult. They're part of the CIA run satanic racket going on.
Wow. We think that some of the musos have sold out, others haven't. You know, we talk about them having sold their souls and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But from what you're telling me, have they really? I mean, it's just who they are, right? They didn't have to sell their souls. That's the point I'm making. I think that soul was gone a long time ago.
Well, I can actually explain something to you here. So what we would do at Montauk is we would go back in time. We would send somebody in there, and they would walk in through a portal into a person's room, like let's say Kurt Cobain or whatever. And we basically say, I've actually been the person to do it before. John Woodberg's been the person to do it. It wasn't always the same person. Basically say, okay, we'd have a briefcase. We'd open it up. It'd have a song, like a speaker thing that would play the song on one side, and then the sheet music and stuff like that on the other side. And I basically say, I'm the devil. I'm Satan. Yeah, clone centers, that could be. And I used to think it was dreaming too. Sorry, I have ADD. What was I just talking about?
What were we talking about? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, what was I just saying?
I was getting lost in the question. Yeah. Sorry, guys. What was ARKHEIM saying? Anyone in the chat? Gosh, sorry, I lost that. I've gone blank there as well. That's crazy.
Yeah. Mickey 17. Yeah, I'm supposed to. I've been hearing about that. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we could do a whole show on the music industry.
That was so crazy. I feel like I've just been blanked out. The music, Kurt Cobain.
Oh yeah. No, okay, now I remember. Okay, so we go in there through a portal. So you say you're the devil. Hey, you want to sell your soul to me? I'll give you fame, fortune, all the sex you could ever want with all the beautiful women you could ever want. You basically live like a king, right? And all I got to do is sign this piece of paper. And what does that mean? It means I own your soul now. And they think, oh, well, okay. And they don't understand. That means I'm going to put you in clone bodies over and over again and use you for eternity. They don't understand that. And this is an example of consent, the line being blurred, and them kind of cheating. It's cheating, in my opinion. Because when someone signs a contract, they need to come from an informed place where they understand what they're agreeing with, and they need to come from a place of abundance. If you're not coming from a place of abundance, I don't think it's fair, because you're being taken advantage of. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's That's that. So the whole story of selling your soul, like meeting the devil at the crossroads and selling your soul to them, that has to do with the time projects. Um,
Yes.
the devil isn't the devil walking through a portal. It's just a person with advanced technology and an MP3
Right.
player. You know?
Right. Exactly. And it's just one big lie, really, isn't it? It's just one big fat deception.
Yeah. And you know, they've given my music to a lot of these people. They've made a lot of money off of it. I don't know how or why I agreed to it, but I know to an extent I did agree to it. It's a
Mhm.
whole long story, but like I think they tricked me. I don't know, but it's funny because like I don't have any money in this life really. I'm not famous. Like I don't. It's what I can't understand what they even gave me. What did I get out of them taking my songs? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I would have agreed to that. But I remember like I don't know. We'll have to save it for another show.
Oh, we're gonna do that. Let's yeah. I mean, I think there's lots of information for lots more shows on this topic. That's for sure. Oh, Kim, thank you. What a show! What a bunch of information! I definitely have to go and watch this again. For sure, so much information. I mean, I love the ant people that have got pet spiders. That has to be the cutest thing I've ever seen. And the pet spiders become their ganja runners. Ganja.
Yeah.
Do you guys call it ganja there? Over here we call it
Uh,
ganja.
I just call it weed, I guess, but ganja's a perfectly fine name for it. But yeah, it's kind of funny to me. There's actually like hash on Mars. Like there's people smoking weed on Mars. Like that's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it? And it's
Where's
in the
your
breakaway. It's in the breakaway.
Punjalini?
Get this. Also, I was working. I don't think this is a coincidence, you guys. Here in Portland, I was working at a cannabis production facility where I was like bucking buds, like giant plants, like just containers full of fucking nugs and stuff. And I was thinking, like, we produce so much weed at this place. There's no way it's just this is just the state of Oregon. Like, who's smoking all this? I remember thinking that one day. And that day, the owner of this company comes in with these weird German guys. And she's like, "Oh, this is my family from Germany." And dude, it was fucking breakaway Germans making a deal with them to get weed. Like it's traded in space. I swear to God, I know it. I know it. Like it was literally breakaway German. Like I am convinced that it was breakaway Germans like making a deal with them to get cannabis in the breakaway colonies. Like because like I was literally thinking that day, like we produce so much fucking cannabis. Like we like and there's like a million of these places, right? Because it's just one company. Yo, I'm like, where's all this weed going? It's going into space, dude. I'm not even kidding. We are known, Earth is known for having the most high quality marijuana cannabis that you can fucking get. We are known for that. We have perfected it to a science. And so,
Well, then I have to say, yeah, where I live, by the way, they have what they call a cannabis cup. Um, like once a year where they have, and it's now, I mean, it's kind of legal, but to a point, blah blah blah. You're not allowed to sell it basically unless you're doing it for medical, blah blah.
yeah.
But every year they would have all the best growers, but like from across the world coming here in this area with a cannabis cup. And the growers in this area used to win time and time again. So that's just, yeah, everyone. And we have the Malawians, yeah, by the way, and the Malawians grow the best ganja in Africa. So that's actually a very interesting topic.
I
But
also
and
remember there being weed on Centurion, and I'll tell you just like kind of funny, like I told you there's districts and everything was monitored. The guy who
yeah,
sold me weed he's a flower salesman. He sold like bouquets, and it was like the idea of the guy like you're out drinking and he's got the bouquet and he sells you a bouquet and he gives you there's that kind of guy, but he had like a flower delivery service, and he had these gold roses, yellow roses, right? And there he had two kinds, but he didn't talk about it. One they're just regular yellow ones, and there wasn't anything special of them, and then the other kind it was actually coated with gold, and he basically profile you. Like, oh, does this person want a bag of weed, or do they actually want a gold? And the golden flower is it's supposed to be like, because it was so expensive, it was like a way to show off to your lady to buy the golden flower. But people knew secretly that actually you could get a bag of weed, and so that's how he would get around it. Is he was selling flower, get it? and like the golden flower was how you get weed from him. And he was able to go through districts because he was given a special license for his business. So he was able to go from district to district and not get caught. And he just paid off the police and stuff like that. And I remember I eventually grew my own weed. I grew weed in my apartment. I had my own weed plants.
That is so hilarious. It had to be the Germans that
People,
did it
people like to
first.
drink off world too, man. People like to drink off world. On Mars, Johnny Walker Red. Johnny Walker Red. You'd find that. People would like to drink that. Yeah, it's people like to party on Earth and off Earth.
This is so funny. I was gonna have to put up ourselves comment to break.
Maybe we should get a breakaway, bud. That's funny. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Where's Joyful Janine? She'll enjoy this. Joyful Janine's one of our viewers who's always having a puff. So she'd be enjoying the fact that there's weed on Mars, I'm sure. Wow. Anyway, wow, what an interesting topic. Okay, thank you so much. Anything more you can tell us about spiders that are that are big drug mules on Mars? And
the biggest thing that I want to say is just because a being looks nasty, okay. Some of the most evil, disgusting, vile, piece of shit creatures that don't even deserve to breathe air that I've encountered have been human beings. And some of the most peaceful, nice, loving creatures have been like giant creatures who would be terrifying to you. And that is something that we need to get over if we want to go into the next level of humanity. Just because it's a bug or a lizard or whatever and it looks different than you does not mean it does not deserve the same amount of respect as a living being that something that looks like you does. The fact that they have used that as a tool in their tool chest to keep us down, not just other creatures but us. The fact that we think that just because something doesn't look like us, it deserves to be treated a certain way. Like the whole, when it comes to bugs, either squash or be squashed thing. The bugs were just defending themselves. They were just defending themselves. So I just want to point out there that just because something looks nasty or scary or mean doesn't mean it is. They can be friendly. So it's kind of a weird note to end on, but I think it's important to bring up.
I think it's very important, and I think unfortunately as human beings have the kill culture. If we don't like it or if we're scared of it, we just kill it. If we don't like a spider, we'll just kill it. If we don't like a bug, we'll just poison it. If there's a snake in the garden, we'll just chop its head off. And as an animal communicator, I can tell you for sure that is not the way to get rid of a problem at all. You got to connect on a spiritual, emotional level. And as you say, it's so true. And I'm so loving what you've said there. Basically, that it doesn't matter what you look like. I mean, there was an alien who was your father. I mean, what a beautiful story that is.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get emotional when I think about him. It chokes me up. Like, he took care of me. Like, yeah, like, I still look at him as a father. Like, I still look at him as a father figure. I still look at him as a man who raised me for an entire life, who took me into his home. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. And, it's the same thing, as an animal whisperer, the minute you love an animal or an insect, anything, that animal feels it and they respond in a loving way. Mm-hmm. It's through fear that we attack each other. As you say, the ant colony on Mars.
Yeah, and that's why even though it sounds like silly to be like, when I'm like, hey, like, eat good food, take care of yourself, go on walks, making yourself happy is important. It's because coming from that state, there's less fear and it manifests in the world and it just spreads. So it's like, it sounds woo, but it's not. And we all know this. We're all friends here. We know what's going on. It's not woo.
Absolutely not.
I really got to use the bathroom though. I have to.
Okay, well, we've hit the 2 hour spot. Okay, we've hit the 2 hour spot, and thank you.
Yeah, and have me back if you want to have me back with the music industry. I'd love to talk about that. And if you'd like to have me back, I want to meet Jessie. I think it'd be only fair to meet her on your show, and I just think that would be great. I think we should do that. So
We'll
let's keep in
arrange that.
touch. Yeah, let's keep in touch.
Take care. Thank you,
All right.
ARKHEIM.
Much love, everybody. Thank you for paying attention. My testimony means a lot to me. Have a nice.
I love it. Thank you.
Later.
Okay. Wow, guys, what an interesting story. What incredible. I definitely have to listen to this again. I think it has to be the cutest thing that ants have spiders as pets. And I wonder what else they can have as pets. I look forward to having ARKHEIM here again. What an interesting topic. What interesting guests we have. I'm just so happy that you guys are all speaking up, and very happy for those of you who didn't watch my show last night with Caleb. Caleb's back, so get that. That's on the birthday show. Got a membership channel now, so please join the membership channel. We'll be putting out a lot of cool things. And I will see you all tomorrow with Double Trouble with Jessie, and Thursday with Dr. Dennis. And then I'm actually away, got a family wedding on this weekend. So I'll be away for a few days, but I'll catch you again the week after. Check my Gnostic channel. There's a few new shows that have gone out. Jerry Marzinski's doing some incredible case studies about when he was in the mental health care industry, telling incredible stories about people that were schizophrenic, their experiences, how he dealt with that. Very interesting. And of course, Jessie show is going up again. So watch my Gnostic channel, and I will definitely see you all tomorrow. In the meantime, there should be a join button. Join, not joint. Yeah, joint. We're talking about it'll be a joint button. Maybe we'll have a joint button on Arrow instead of join. Take everybody. Lanessa, nice to see you again. I love seeing you all in the chat. God bless you all. Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Solutions with Shanti. When I look at myself, it's raining. Sorry, my hair. You know me and my hair. Gosh, look at it. Anyway, welcome back to part 2. And for those of you who missed the first part, we were talking about territorial spirits really in Africa, and also how they kind of connect to the Western system. So it's super interesting. And if you haven't, thank you, Healing Frequencies. And if you haven't seen that yet, please go check it out, because we're going to be talking about witch doctors and witchcraft and stuff like that in Africa as well. So looking forward to that, because, yeah, you know, it's such a... I'm just sitting here thinking, actually, you know, from when I began and started connecting the dots to where we are now. I was just saying to Jessie as well earlier on, it's just, you know, everything just interconnects. Now we see how everything works together. Different cultures, different people, different continents. But really, at the end of the day, when you're working with a nefarious spirit, it takes on so many different shapes and forms and sizes, right? So, yay, everybody. Happy to be back. Give us a like, share, subscribe, please. Comment, always, you know, these are the things that help to keep our algorithms up. And obviously, the more people who see this information, the better. So, I think without any further ado, ta-da.
Hello.
Madam Jessie, welcome back for round 2. I'm glad you made it. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. I'm doing well still.
Yeah. Well, I'm really actually loving the topics we have today. And I mean, it really is just scratching the surface. And I want to say as well, those of you who watched my show with Dr. Dennis Carroll on a Thursday night, we're actually going to be looking also into Krita Mutwa, right? Because, you know, those guys, they deal a lot with the cryptids and that sort of stuff. And Krita Mutwa was very vocal about the lizard beings in Africa, which are known as the Shatari. And the Shatari really mean, the gods who rule the land. And he speaks about the three different types of lizard beings that are also obviously um, own Africa. I don't know, control. They don't own it. They currently control it, is what I would better say. So we're going to be looking into lots of things around this in the next few weeks and months. So stay tuned, guys. Yeah. Right, Jess? Lots of weird and wonderful things happening at the moment all over the world.
Absolutely, there are, yes. So I've been enjoying this series too. A lot of good information in it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyway, Jess, would you like to maybe just open for us in prayer before we speak about dodgy witches?
Heavenly Father, we just come against all dodgy witchcraft that may be coming our way as we speak about these things today, Lord. We ask for your authority to do so, and we ask for your blessing as we do so. We ask that you would protect our airwaves, our internet, our technologies, protect our audience, Lord, and we ask that we may walk in the fullness of the authority that you've given us and in the victory over those who practice such things. We ask this in your powerful name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Jess.
Yep.
Well, you've got some interesting stories to tell. Do you wanna kick off?
Yeah. Let's start with that. So back in, I'm trying to remember, it was close to probably 2000. No, actually it was around 1990s, late 1990s actually. But it started, this is such a fascinating story, so I got to kind of go to the backdrop. But it started when I was pregnant with my first child, and the Lord would always give me dreams about my children before they were born. At the time, I didn't know it. But I was pregnant close to time of delivery, and I have this dream one night where I'm in the hospital, I'm going into labor, and again, this was the dream. Um, and I see this angel standing there, and this angel puts in it was in my left arm actually, like as I'm laying in the hospital bed, he puts in my left arm this baby. But when I go to look at the face of the baby, it's like, this is not my baby because it was a little African boy. And I was like, this is not my baby, right? And then next thing I know, I'm told it is my baby. And then in my right hand, the angel placed this little baby girl that when my daughter was born, I had seen her in that dream. I saw her face very clearly, so it was really interesting. But I didn't know who this baby boy was. And I said, well, who is this? And the angel told me that his name was Timothy, that he was my son, Timothy. And it was like, huh. And so that kicked off where then I began to have these dreams periodically about this African little boy named Timothy. And so one of those dreams was probably a couple years later. He was about 2 years old. And in the dream, I clearly saw him at that age. I saw him out in this open area. I saw a fire, like a big pit fire. And I saw this witch doctor, African witch doctor. He probably was about 4 foot. I mean, he was short, probably, he was under 5 foot. He had this massive headdress on. I could hear him chanting and calling up these spirits. And I saw this little boy absolutely terrified. And in the dream, I rebuked the witch doctor and told him he had no authority over the little boy. And that kicked off a battle in that dream where I literally was going against this witch doctor. Now, fast forward years later, I'm meeting with this family to pray for their daughter who is headed to Africa to do missionary work. And she had already been there before. She had a group of individuals in one of the areas that she was working with, and she begins to tell me about, you know, her partner that she works with there. And she simply just said, "Oh, you know, my partner Timothy." And as she said that, the Lord said to me, ask her to see a picture." And so I was like, "Do you happen to have a picture?" And she said, "Yes." She shows me the picture, and it's the face of this little boy that I have prayed for years. And so I tell her the story, and I said, "Will you ask him about these events?" And, you know, including the witch doctor, I said, "I dreamed when he was 2 that a witch doctor tried to attack him." And ended up, she confirmed every single event that, you know, and I already knew by the face, you know, because I knew his face and the age. So that's the thing, like he's the exact age of where he should be according to my dreams. So it was interesting. Um, yeah, so that was the
Wow.
kickstart of my experience with witch doctors. But
Have you ever met one in person? Have you ever seen one in person?
I believe, yes, I have experienced them several times in life. Um, they can be very scary because, you know, there's just I don't know how to explain it, but there is a sheer darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that I experienced, it was almost like there was no, I don't know how to put it other than their eyes seemed black. Like there was just
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
I don't know how to describe that, but their eyes are black, and it was like there was like no soul almost. I mean, it
right.
was pretty scary, you know? I don't know.
That's exactly true. Um, but I also just want to say that there's a difference between the witch doctors, right,
Hmm.
and the Sangomas, who in the past were also called witch doctors, but they are more the medicine men.
Okay,
I have
yeah.
indeed, Linda, I have indeed come across 2, in fact. And on one of my travels to Zambia, um, he didn't look like a witch doctor. He was a young guy, actually, on the pavement, walking past me and stopped me, him and 3 of his buddies. And I knew immediately who he was. But he didn't portray himself as that. But that energy you talk about, it's like this dark sucking. It sucks you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a vortex. Think about a vacuum cleaner. When you, anything in that vicinity, it's going to suck up into its belly.
Mhm.
They really, these, and that's why when
Yeah, they're
people,
evil.
no, yeah, that's when people talk about witch doctors and they call me a witch doctor. I'm going, well, I'll show you a witch doctor, but bring a bag of Pampers along because you're going to need them. You
Yeah.
are,
They
trust me.
call him
Um,
something else, but they call him something else, but you get them in where I witnessed them a lot in the system was in connection to the Order of the Phoenix. So we talked about places in the past, like we did a show in the Mormon series on Mechlon. That was one of the places where I encountered one of these individuals. So um, they're interchangeable with those that will be in a position as like a high priest uh, under
right.
that order of the Phoenix, and you also get into the beyond Africa. You get that in the Incan, Mayan, and the Aztec ancient um,
Yes,
positions and ceremonies, but they'll hold some of the ancient, you know, Incan, Mayan, and Aztec contracts in the system. So,
absolutely. Duco, you wanted to know which doctor and a shaman. Witch doctor is in the past, as I said, there was witch doctors. All the medicine men and women whether they were practicing white magic or black magic, were known as witch doctors. But lately, in more recent years, the medicine men and women are now known as Sangomas. So you will see them, they more work with divination, stuff like that. They're more
herbal things.
herbal, your plants.
Would you put the shaman more in the class with the medicine men, or would you put them more in the class with the witch doctors? Yeah, I would
definitely
put them in the medicine man class as well. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Although they now obviously being from the Eastern Cape in South Africa, that's where the Xhosa people, that's their area, and I grew up with a lot of, obviously on the farm, and a lot of African people. And one of the things that's very common with the African people and the witch doctors there, the Sangomas, is throwing the bones. So you use the bones of a sheep, knuckles, whatever, and then you dry it, clean it, dry it, whatever. So you just have the bones, and those bones you use for fortune telling. I mean, they'll throw those bones, and the way the bones land, they will show you exactly how the bones land and what starts pointing to, and that's what I know this because they play with this on the farm. Yeah, I did. It was part of my culture. You know, it's how the African people, and it's the same thing when like they're looking for rain. When's rain gonna come? They will throw the bones. When's feast gonna come? They'll throw the bones. If it's the right thing for the wedding to have people marry each other, they'll throw the bones. You know, it's very much where I grew up. You always had one person in your local community who is not about, it's not a witch doctor, but a wise man or woman. Mm-hmm. They were known as like the elders or the wise man of the woman, the tatis. We used to call them the tati. Tati, T-A-T-I, tati, means father. It's an affectionate word in Xhosa for father. So Nelson Mandela was known as Tati Madiba. Okay, we loved him. That's before we knew who Nelson Mandela was. So, but we called them the tatis, right, of the community. So they were the wise people, but they always consulted with the ancestors and the spirits. So it was never done nefariously in any way. There was never any animal sacrifice or anything that went along with that. It was part of, you know, the African people will use each and every part of the animal that they eat. So they will use the skin for that. I mean, you got to know the food they cook, there's not one part of that animal that is not eaten. And the bones are used for fortune telling. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very interesting. And you even see that in Israel culture too, where the casting of something, they would call it the casting of the lots, but they would use even the Thummim and the Urim for divination, for signs, for, you know, to discern what was right or what was not right. Like you see it in the book of Job, where the lots are cast to see who was the guilt, you know, who was causing the storm, who was the guilty party. And so you see that a lot throughout different cultures.
It's, you know, and what's very interesting there is that they absolutely believe in God, but they also believe that their ancestors are God's helpers. So they very often, they don't use deities or deities like the ones we saw on the previous show. They will call on their own ancestors because the belief with them is firm that their ancestors are God's helpers. Mm-hmm. So you'll find a lot of that, and I don't know in all that's where I grew up, right? Mm-hmm. That was in my community. So of course you get the dark stuff. So God speaks to you through the bones. Your ancestors are being, one thing we must remember with African culture, they are incredibly connected to the earth and their ancestors.
Yeah.
Much, 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 much more so than the average Westerner. I can tell you that for sure. And there's something, you know, I often speak about Ubuntu. Ubuntu is what the African people have. It's like that family culture. We look after each other. It's the soul of your community. Now, one of the reasons, by the way, why Africans believe that it's okay to kill white people, yeah, right? You know, there's a lot of farm murders, and there's, for many years, there's been a lot of brutal murders of white people, right? And I got to tell you, even when I was growing up, you knew you were hated by the African people. You had to protect you. That was the narrative that was spun to us all the time. That the African people hated us and they wanted us. That was the narrative that we had. And we had to protect ourselves. That's why our guys, young guys, had to go to the border, right, and fight for whatever. I'm just wondering what you're saying payback for. Healing frequencies, payback for what? You know, so there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that narrative going on. But it's like they believe that the white people don't have a soul. They really honestly believe that the white people don't have a soul. So according to Ubuntu, it's okay to kill someone who does not have a soul. Right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting theories.
So
yeah.
It's just very interesting because it's like, that's when you look at how the African people work together in terms of their communities and their cultures, right? They really do have Ubuntu. And then they watch how white people work. My internet jammed. And then they wonder how white people work together, see how white people work together, and what they see, we don't well at all. Did I disappear for a bit?
No, we've been hearing you.
So
yeah.
Okay, I keep
Yeah, now you're
being
cutting
in and
out
out of
real
screen.
bad here. Yeah. No, that's interesting with the,
Am I back?
you know, yeah, you're back now. We should almost do a show on ancestral worship and stuff like that, and you know, look at that, the ancestral worship and divination. That would be an interesting show. And it's interesting too with the soulless that, you know, that they believe the white people don't have it, and yet, you know, from things we see or experience, we would say very much that the witch doctor, or, you know, the witch doctors almost seem that way, like their soul has been taken, you know. Yeah, Dooku has, without a soul would mean you're dead. Pretty much. I mean, I would see it that way, because your body can't exist without some sort of soul connection. You know?
It's interesting always to look at these things. Again, you know, it's really about understanding the different ways that we think, right? I understand the way the African people think purely because I've spent many years speaking to them, understanding why many of them feel the way they do. Let me tell you, if I was an African person in this country living through apartheid, that hell, I would have been right up there with the ones that were toying, as we call it. What is toying? Rioting or walking the streets, whatever, you know. is it rioting? Peaceful riot? I don't know. What do you call it? We call it toy-toying.
Yeah,
But
rioting or
and you're right. Of course, without a soul would mean you're dead. Of course, we know that. But I'm saying that when you're looking at also the way people speak, it's like maybe what they're saying is we don't have a heart. That's what they probably are saying, if I think about it. So if someone can treat another human being in that way, we don't have a heart. But then again, you look at, for example, in the DRC, the Congo, right? When the Belgians took over and they colonized the Congo, I mean, Leopold was absolutely disgusting. He was the biggest, he was known to be the cruelest colonizer ever. And then when the Belgians eventually were kicked out of the Congo, the new leaders actually then did worse things to their own people than what the colonizers did to them. So it was this whole thing of believing that the colonizers are the devil. And throughout Africa, no matter what you call it, no matter which way, no matter how you spin it, that is that is the idea that the colonizers are the devil. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And that is why,
I mean, I see how they get that view, you know, but yeah, interesting.
Sorry, Jess, you definitely got a lag. Do you want to carry on?
Yeah, if you want to put up the first, go ahead and put up the first one and we can start talking about the witch doctors here. I'm getting a lot of lag on my end coming from you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on here, but the witch doctors
lag and
obviously don't
cutting
like
out.
us.
You're
but
cutting
we
out a
won't
lot,
do
so it's hard to. We'll just make it up as we go here.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me read? Shall I read, or is it cutting out?
Yeah. Is
Okay.
it the
Now this is
Djembe?
interesting. Djembe, yeah. Okay, the Maka people of the Cameroon believe in an occult force known as Djembe that dwells inside a person. It is often translated as witchcraft or sorcery, but it has a broader meaning that encompasses supernatural harm, healing, and shape-shifting. Now, for me again, you know, this has so many different legs, right? It has so many different tentacles. Every African culture will have its way of expressing this, especially when it comes to supernatural harm and shape-shifting. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, so like with the shape-shifting, it's very curious, but you get you know, these generational familiar spirits that are passed on in their culture. And in some areas, you know, you're going to see it highly selective, meaning, you know, you're going to have that spirit connected from one person to one other person as it's passed down. You know, and that's part of how they keep the fear, the control, you know, among the witch doctors. And you know, I think it's very similar, the shape-shifting spirit, to those, you know, we hear about. You know, some of the older survivor groups will talk about, you know, the shape-shifting into the reptilian. Then, you know, in my experience, you have the shape-shifting into the vampires or the werewolves. In that, you know, you get honorary. There's almost like honor that, whether it's through these tribes or whether it's through, you know, protectors within the system, where, you know, they're going to pass that spirit on. You know, the shape-shifting can be done for different reasons or things, but you get this concept of, you know, a spirit that is going to use people to roam, to spy, maybe even hunt or attack. You you hear of the different shape shifting, like into cheetahs or lions, or often the shape shifting in the witchcraft or the witch doctor will encompass some sort of cat-like creature. So you get this whole order of the cats that is connected to that in the Masonic realm. You know, the cat people, things like that.
Wow.
You know, I've heard of other animals as well, but I think those are the primary, or, you know, you get the connection with the shape shifting into a cat-like creature, but
The cats are very prevalent on the African continent, most definitely. They're strong with the order of the leopard men, and
yes.
then the lion men as well. And I know that, you know, with Dennis Carroll, we were actually talking about that, because they were also talking about that as well.
The
But
panthers, you
with a
get
lot
the
with
panthers, and
yes, yeah, and then what they do is they're either going to kill the cat itself themselves, or somebody kills it for them. They then embody that spirit, or their twin, or whatever it is you call it, with that spirit, and then they wear the pelt or the skin of the animal, which of course then takes on the qualities of that animal. So there's a lot to do with animals and African witchcraft, and especially when it comes to shape-shifting as well.
yeah,
They
and
love, they love,
usually it's like a rite of passage. That's how it's seen.
right.
But you're only worthy of it if you can, you know, win that fight against that creature. And, you know, you're not, most of the time, you know, they're not getting, I'll say, like extensive type weaponry. Like you don't see, you know, most of the time it's very close combat with these creatures that they have to fight and overcome to get that skin, you know.
Sorry, I'm on mute. It's definitely a rite of passage, that, and you don't, and usually, well, not usually, always, in order to wear a skin, you high up in whatever community or lineage that is. Okay, here we go. Here the Sangomas are. And there, you're often going to find the Sangomas are women, by the way. There are definitely men, but they're often women as well. Traditional healers in South Africa who perform healing and divination, often addressing issues related to witchcraft. So they will be the ones that take the nasty spells off you. Now, when you look at Credo Mutwa was the most highly ordained Sangoma in Africa. He was 98 when he died. I mean, that man had, and he spent his life pretty much dispelling dark witchcraft. That's what he did. So the Sangomas will know a lot about witchcraft, the black witchcraft, often because maybe they've encountered it or it was in their family or something. But these are the people that then will do a conscious effort to counteract the dark witchcraft. So they will know what spirits, for example, are attaching to you, and they'll be able to get rid of those spirits. They'll know all sorts of things like that. Yeah, and you can see there she is wearing the leopard skin. So she would be most definitely highly ordained, that one. And as you can see, they will generally have a mat there. They'll sit on their mat, and you'll see she has the tails of the animals that she's obviously working with, the animal spirits. And you'll see in the back there, she has all her medicines and her herbs and things like that. And this is not, the thing that you'll find with the Sangomas is that they'll work with bones. So like the bones of a sheep, right? And then they'll use that. But they won't go and sacrifice the sheep in order to get the bones. That's what I'm saying. They'll use it when they eat it. Very interesting. So these are usually the ones.
You were saying the Sangomas, they also are going to usually fight the animal to get that pelt, or have somebody get that for them?
Yeah, it's not only the Sangomas. You'll find that it depends, if they like the chiefs, the kings, the queens, stuff like that as well. If they have title, if they have title, and I mean, there's lots of African royal families, so and they love their title. They although it's not recognized, most of it in the Western legal system or anything. And you will see, like, for example, one of my clients was a Xhosa princess, and she was beautiful. Long hair, looked like a beautiful young African girl. But all she wore was a bit of a goat skin on her wrist, like a bangle, a bracelet, and she wore specific beads. And no one knew who she was unless it was people from her tribe. She'd get onto the taxi, for example, in Johannesburg, going to work like a normal civilian, and then she'd have the magogos on. Magogo is the grandmother, like it's the word for grandmother. She'd have the magogos on the taxi honoring her because they recognized that she was a princess, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
So they'll do stuff like that. They have certain cultures. So she would then, obviously, through that, the animal stuff that she wears, that goat was sacrificed for her. So the spirit of that goat, when she came in, when she took on her position, whatever, and that goat will forever. And I must say, it's very beautifully done the way they do that. That goat is reared by her, loved by her, and she's there when it is sacrificed.
Wow.
So it's a very beautiful process they actually go through a lot of the time. And then, of course, but I don't know, if I think about that, I don't know that animal does anything magically with her, right, when it comes to anything else, but it's more just like part of her spirit protected team, as they would call it. But the rest of the time, yeah, I know people who are in the military, came here in the Bush War, guys, and they were working for the 3-letter agencies in America.
The CIA connection to all of this too, yeah.
Very much so, and what he did, he was the middleman between the African royal families and the CIA, and it was his job to filter their minerals to the CIA. So he basically, and he was part of the Bush War, okay? So he was very highly ordained here. I mean, big part of big things that were happening in South Africa at the time, right? And was also taken in by several royal families as part of their family type thing. He was also embodied with the spirit of the leopard, also has his leopard pelt and what have you. And I can tell you now, that dude has got that leopard in him. I can see by the way he moves. I'll tell you that much. A leopard is very elusive. So obviously that would be part of him being elusive in the bush. The leopard crawling up in the tree, down in the trenches, you don't see him. And then you don't see him, and then suddenly there he is, right? Very much like that. So I'd be interested to know what you say about that, the leopards and that, and the connection to the CIA.
Yeah, so that's actually that's part of the programs that they have. And you have certain types, they'll also connect it to the beta kitty sex slaves at times. So it's interesting that you're talking about the gentleman who kind of was in between, royal people and the CIA. But you get, some different mixes with that. I think the higher level individuals, are going to have more of that connection to the cult of the cats. you know, but you'll see like where certain clothing for the beta kitty sex slaves, for those who are part of that, they'll have the leopard skins, or you know, that can be used to signify certain types of beta kitties. So you know, which they used to spy, they used them, you know, to sexually draw people into sin in order to assassinate, things like that.
Wow. I've
Yeah.
always wondered because yeah, it would make a lot of sense. I mean, it's just actually quite gross because I would actually like to talk about that because I think they would use a lot of that for sex magic, right, Jessie?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they
And
do.
using that animalistic, feline, kitty, raw power, right? Raw
Mm-hmm.
sexual energy. Seriously,
Yep.
these people need to be put in front of a firing squad. Angie Tillman, thank you so much for your super sticker. Really, really appreciate you. Okay, then the next one is Kentucky. Just wait, I just need to take that off quickly so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah. Okay, Kentucky is thought by its believers to be a kind of witchcraft or possession by evil spirits in the DRC, Democratic of the Congo, and among Congolese immigrants in Europe. This belief is responsible for acts of child abandonment and ritual abuse of adults and children who were thought to have fallen victim to Kindoki. Children who are perceived to be possessed by Kindoki are subjected to exorcism that include beating, starvation, and submersion in water. Let me tell you, that is something so terrible. You see in some of these African tribes how they just leave these little children. They abandon them. They literally walk around on their own, starving to death, because the people believe that they are possessed by this Kindoki spirit. What is your take on
The
that?
spirit. I think, you know, I think that's a common thing that witch doctors are used for, is for the, you know, like you said, dealing with the spirits. But it's interesting that you get some where, you know, I guess at what point do they feel that they can't cast that spirit out? And then that's when those people will be abandoned because they don't know how to deal with the spirit. Um, you know, yeah. So yeah, I think the practices of exorcism, casting out the spirits, the methods that they use is something that I think we see throughout different cultures, where you get the beating, the starvation, submersion underwater, but also other things. You know, in other cultures, they would do the bloodletting. You know,
Yeah,
drain. They thought that the spirit could be connected to the blood, and they would drain blood out of the person to remove the spirit.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to respond to this comment. Shanti, can you please explain why raising a goat and being there when it is sacrificed is a beautiful process? I'm not understanding that. Well, as you all know, my feelings of animals, that is not my perception. I would never do that. But when you understand the African culture and you understand that she has a rite of passage at a certain age because she's royalty, that animal in their culture is bred for her. It is spoken to, it is loved, it is fed, and she gives thanks to it every day for giving its life for her. So when the time comes that the animal gives its life for her in their culture, she is there with it, thanking it, honoring it. That's what makes the process beautiful. Do I think that is the way I want to do things? No. But I'm trying to give you an understanding on how someone else views it so that we don't always judge these things. There are many things I don't like, but I understand why other people do them. It's not something I would do. I try not to judge.
And compared to, you were speaking to the way they went about that culturally versus in other cultures, or even, within some of those same cultures when they just sacrifice, you
Exactly.
get something more chaotic, where it's more devastating both to the animal and to people who are there involved.
Yeah, a big fat slaughter fest. So, it's like, how many of you guys eat meat? Okay. And if you are not aware of where your meat is coming from, you are supporting a big fat slaughter fest, because those slaughterhouses are built on ley lines which harvest the loosh. So that's the difference between eating a beautifully packed pork chop that comes to your spa or whatever it is you guys have, right? Versus that you don't know where that animal came from, what it ate, what it went through. Because when you eat an animal, you eat everything that animal has ingested, all the steroids, all the antibiotics, all the growth hormones, everything. It's fear, it's suffering, everything is what you ingest in the meat. They understand this, which is why they don't do it that way. That's what I'm saying. That's the difference.
Yeah. Interesting with the different cultural things. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, juju. Juju is something we all speak about. Yeah, if something goes wrong, oh gosh, have I got some bad juju on me? Okay, juju is like literally, it's some type of divination, spell casting that the witch doctors do. And let me tell you, these guys, they can cause havoc in your life. This is not good. This is not good at all. It's like if they get a piece of your hair, for example, all they want is a piece of your hair. And that's why so much of, let me tell you, the white culture, many, like when you have a maid or a gardener working for you in the past, right? They would instruct the nannies to take hair out of the brush of the woman or the man. And then using that hair, they would then give it to the witch doctors or whatever, and those witch doctors would curse. And then you would find, and then someone might be woken up enough to know that there's some type of a curse on you, but then you come around and you try and clean your property, and you must see the stuff that's buried on your property, little bags of this and that and the next thing. It's crazy. So there's all sorts of that. This is what the juju is. And that's bad.
Basically to cause bad luck, to cause chaos, destruction, death even, and we've had that with, they can leave, different sticks entwined together. I had one time, they put under my porch a mouse they literally cauterized the head off. So a cauterized, headless mouse with a stick that kind of wrapped over to make the Hebrew letter hey, which means to behold, right? But they put that as a curse under my porch. You'll see like where they'll kill animals even, and put those animals in sticks in the yard, or the head of the animal on a stick in the yard. They can, do all sorts of different things that leave little like emulants or jewel-like stones or things, different places. I've had them use dried dead kind of like reptile creatures like frogs or lizards or things that they'll leave it inside a doorway, stuff like that. They can use anything for that to curse. Also flies is another thing they'll use, like hordes of flies. to bring pestilence or disease. So you get lots of nasty stuff with the juju.
It is lots of nasty stuff with the juju, that's for sure. Yeah, and then of course, along with this, but we'll obviously I want to do more of this. Then another very hectic one from the witch doctors would be what they call the tokolosh, right? And the tokolosh is, especially with the Xhosa and the Zulu cultures, and that's a manifestation from the witch doctors. Now, also having grown up with the Xhosa people, I don't know, but especially not in rural areas, always slept with their bed on bricks. The bed was not on like legs, whatever, right? It was always on bricks because the tokolosh could not climb up the bricks, because the tokolosh was this little thing, like maybe a foot high, that comes at night when you are sleeping, and then it comes in through your ears or one of the orifices and drives you mad and gives you nightmares and stuff like that. So that is a way that is a very common and probably one of the most ancient ways of cursing. Have I gone?
Yep, you're back now. But yeah, that's interesting with the nightmares
again.
That's interesting with the nightmares.
Are you there?
And yeah, that for whatever reason, it can't climb up the bricks at all.
Sorry.
Yeah, so interesting. All of the the juju, the witchcraft that they're going to use to cause those nightmares, bad luck, bad things to happen, a lot of negativity, chaos, all of that. That gets into the next one that you want to show there, which is, if you want to go to the next picture, the voodoo.
Yeah, that's voodoo.
Not hoodoo, though you do have voodoo and hoodoo too, but so it says this is predominantly practiced. Go ahead. In Benin or Benin, it's considered a significant form of witchcraft and encompasses a complete way of life.
Yeah, this internet is so bad, guys. I apologize. Okay, Jess, go ahead. You speak.
It includes culture and medicine. This form of divination is used a lot in the system. You talked about, like with the juju, how they'll collect the hair of somebody from a brush. Gypsies can do that too. They'll collect hair, and then from that hair, they'll use the quantum identifiers to cause spirits to track and do negative things to people. With voodoo, usually they're going to have some sort of replication of the individual, whether that's a doll or, usually it's like a type of cloth doll. I've talked about how Gloria Vanderbilt would make her own using victims, parts of victims that they would cause the children to kill, and then they would link that with the hair from the hierarchy child, and create these dolls from that then similarly were used kind of like voodoo, but she could control people or would threaten them with these death scenes that she would make with her doll houses. But basically, it's the you know, with the dolls, like you'll see, you know, that they can cause issues to health, damage to the physical or the spiritual body through that. You know, you also get sacrificing in voodoo and hoodoo, where, you know, it's a form of blood contracts.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. So interesting how,
Wow.
you know, you get still, you know, I would say overall the majority of the witch doctor things are connected to more darker magic, but you do get extensions that would be considered light magic where they're just going to be those performing exorcisms, those as healers, you know, those undoing the darker things that the darker witch doctors do. But for the most part, you know, some of the interconnecting pieces is that they're going to be working with usually a type of familiar spirit, an ancestry spirit that's been passed on through their tribe or from, you know, person to person, one witch doctor to the next witch doctor that they're training to be over the area. Those spirits are commonly changeling spirits or allow them to have some sort of supernatural power over weather, over negative or positive energy. And, you know, the witch doctors will be contracted to those spirits that they're working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes such sense because I think Jean M, and I think, yes, Jean M, I was just thinking about you. You left a comment earlier on, and I think you're a South African, if I'm not mistaken, where she was saying that the contracts here in Africa are made with the water spirits in the Congo, exactly the DRC, right? Democratic Republic of the Congo, because of all the water portals there. So that is actually makes a lot of sense because definitely right up there is where you get these big waterfalls. Zambezi Falls is way up north there. So it makes a lot of sense. And that's when I was saying it was in there that the guys were telling me about when somebody commits suicide, if they feel they've done something unforgivable that God cannot forgive them for, they then jump down the waterfall and offer themselves up to the snake god, which must be that one we saw there with a very nice green dress that devours the brain and the face and everything, because that just has to go, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. And like if you think about it like that, because it was these senses and this mind and this brain that got you to do that to begin with. So now purify yourself, let her devour those organs of yours that are sinful or whatever they call it, and then you can come back purified. Now, is that right? No, I'm not saying it is, people. Don't say, well, Shanti says this, and then I get quoted all over for saying things that I'm really just having an opinion on. I'm trying to understand, you know, why that's done.
And I agree with Jean. Jean puts in there, you know, that they exchange one problem for another, basically, but also that nothing good comes from visiting a witch doctor. I would agree. Nothing good comes from visiting them. At the same time, we're talking to that culture, you know, it's common in those tribes. That's what they're taught, you know, versus here in the United States, you have more of the church, you have people that are going to go to the priest to seek out, you know, help for their issues or their problems. It's the same way in the pagan cultures, you know, their witch doctor is looked at, you know, they're taught from a young age, that's who you go to about your problems. You know, so that's just that's what they're taught from the time they're born.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. But you know what's clear for us to see across the cultures, across the continents, across the not species, really just the cultures, is that every culture has light and dark. I mean, there we have, well, I can't even remember his name, the protector, and at the same time the one that, I don't know, what do you call him, the one that gives the punishment, punisher.
Yeah.
But you know what, that's really how they portray God in the Bible, actually. If you think about this, God is your protector and he's your punisher. If you are doing good things, God's happy with you. If you're doing bad things, God's going to punish you. Now, the difference in the way the different gods will then punish you according to the different cultures, I guess, will be according to the culture, right?
Yeah. I guess I would use maybe a different word than punisher, because you've got some different contexts with that. You know, a punisher is almost out for vengeance or to get even, or to get payback. But versus, you have a difference between discipline, and with that discipline, the consequences of that discipline, which comes in, justice and accountability. So I would kind of use some different words with that, but and I
That's
think that
exactly
that's,
what I mean. That's
yeah,
exactly what I mean. It's like you're going to have the father, the father that is the beautiful, kind, disciplined. I knew my father,
hmm
right? And when he disciplined me, he I never heard my father shout. In all his 80 years, I never heard my father shout ever. He used to go, Chantelle. That's what he used to do. And then I go, yes, come here. You be naughty. Don't let your mother see you.
oh no.
It was like that. But then I know there are lots of fathers who really do punish, right?
hmm
And are the punishers. They think they have to have this iron fist because
Yeah.
that's the way it has to be. So no matter what culture you're looking at, they've perceived it as that.
Yeah.
And when you look
Yeah.
at African culture, there are very many beautiful, beautiful fathers, like really beautiful fathers, because I grew up with the African people, right? On the farm, on the same land. I saw how they were with their kids. And then you get some that really don't give a rat's backside, that are out there drinking and hitting their wives and running off in the neighbors' farms, having 20
Yeah.
girlfriends on every farm. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Indeed, Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, guys and gals, Jess, is there anything else? Yeah, I just want to say, Nora, yes, I do know about Erica Masika. I've listened to her testimony and stuff. She is from Uganda. She was one of the witches, and she and her husband, and she was, I think, the head witch for East Africa. And she was, in fact, at the age of 9, she was more powerful than her grandmother. People were coming to see her
Well, yeah, that's
instead of her
interesting
grandmother,
when you get the
because
generational
that's what the
lines of
African
that,
culture does. They go and see their, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. And she and her husband got involved with the music industry, and he was involved with the rappers, the Diddies and the Co. He was
Oh,
involved with
okay.
them,
Well,
and they both came. Yeah, and they all, of course, America calls, and you have to know every African person thinks America is their answer to their dreams. Really, guys, they do. And I feel so sad for them, because when you look at this little South African girl, she's been on the scene. Her name is Taylor, I think. She's been on the scene maybe a year now. She's a singer or something. Gorgeous looking little thing, but all wrapped up with Diddy.
well, crazy, huh? Hmm.
Yeah, it's sad, because they think America is the answer to their prayers. America is where they're going to make money. America is where they're going to get famous. America is where things are going to go well for them, because unfortunately, we've been brainwashed that way.
Yeah.
When the West disempowered Africa, and it's been done systematically, America has become our hand that feeds us. And unfortunately, that is a lie, because if you look at what the US government and the American people I'm talking about, the way that they've raped this continent in the past, I think it was probably the other way around. But then it gets sort of sent in the way that, oh, we're giving Africa a helping hand. Poor Africa, they can't help themselves. Never mind the fact that we've stolen all their minerals.
Right.
Over decades, right? It's such a sick idea, actually. African people have no idea how rich they are, a lot of them, because they've been brainwashed to believing that their success lies in America with the rich and famous. And hey, you all know me, I love you Americans, but I think there's been such a brainwashing, and it's sad, because the true richness is inside. And that's what the African people actually have, is that richness of spirit. And I truly hope that we will discover this as well, rediscover. And, all of us together, we're all one person, really, at the end of the day, with one big heart. We all belong to one big heart.
Yeah, absolutely we do.
Anyway, Jess, I think I've had my 3 hours.
It's been a long day, it has. But let's go ahead and pray. And again, Lord, we thank you for this information. We thank you for understanding how things work, even across cultures, Lord. We thank you for your freedom, that those the sun sets free are free indeed. And Lord, we ask that you would guard us, that you would protect us against those that would come against us. We ask that no weapon formed against us shall prosper, Lord, that no curse shall afflight. We ask, Lord, that if we have those who are targeting us through witchcraft or through witch doctors, Lord, we ask that you would remove their curses, that you would remove their juju, their negative energy, their voodoo from us, Lord. And again, whatever weapon they may fashion to form against us, we ask that it shall not prosper nor stand against us. We thank you for the authority that you give us, that we do not need to be afraid. We thank you that your love abounds and that your perfect love casts out all fear. We thank you for that, and we ask for your great deliverance, your protection. And we ask, Father, even greater, that you would draw those people out of that darkness, Lord. I think of my missionary friends who you use their marriage so that the witch doctors in their area would hear the gospel and that they would come and turn away from their wickedness. We thank you for those that you have saved, for those who have come out. And we ask for your continued blessing, that you would draw all men to yourself. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It was so fun hanging out with you all again today and yesterday, Jess. And everybody, remember, Jessie's not going to be here for the next 3 weeks. But I'll keep you entertained. Yeah, she's back in May. But I will keep you entertained on a Wednesday, okay? I don't know how yet, but I will.
You can pretend to be me too.
Yes, I can wear Jessie wig. Okay, guys, take it easy. God bless you all. I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock, which is 2.5 hours later from now. It's now 4:35 with Dr. Dennis Carroll. We're going to be talking about shadow science, which again is all this Archon technology stuff. And we all know Dr. Dennis is absolutely amazing. And I must get you and Dr. Dennis on together again, Jessie.
Yeah,
I know you did another show together. Yeah. And I would love to have you guys on together. So you see, we're thinking about nice things to do, yeah, guys. Take it easy. God bless you all. Take good care. And I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. If this broke something open, if you recognized yourself in the testimony, if your body responded before your mind understood, the next step isn't more information. It's pattern work. Decode what your nervous system built to survive. Dismantle the story that keeps it running. Reorganize through the body and choose, actually choose, from the person you're becoming, not from the pattern that formed when you were too small to choose. That's Solutions. Link below. The body is the record. Let's listen.